Seductive Pain, Part 21. Int. Movie theater night. It's a luxurious theater. Chris and Emma sit on a sofa in a shirt and underwear and watch Raiders of the Lost Ark in the big screen. They are alone. They must have paid the manager to tell moviegoers the theater is having technical difficulty, so they can have the theater for themselves. They have left their clothes on the seats to dry. Emma is not really watching the movie. She is lying on the sofa without a bra, just underwear, while her head resting on Chris's lap. She is telling him a story. But we don't hear what she is saying due to the film on the soundtrack. Chris is playing with her breasts gently. Emma then takes his hand and places it in her vagina, so he could stimulate her clitoris. Chris just does that as Emma continues to tell him the story without missing a beat. Yet the pleasure is getting to her. She closes her eyes as she reaches orgasm. She comes to his lips. They kiss French. Emma then changes the movie on the screen with a remote control, plays Chicago, Cell Block Tango, gets up, and begins to sing and dance with the characters, Pop, Six, Squish, Cicero, Lipschitz. Emma nails all the dance moves as if she has been practicing in her sleep, and characters with imaginary dancers. Chris watches her in wonder. We actually see the dancers, professional artists. Emma dances with them in well-choreographed dance without missing a beat. Simultaneously, the background changes into Cell Block Tango kind of atmosphere, but more glamorous than Chicago as if Emma accesses hidden dimensions. However, when it comes Lipschitz's turn, the music changes to My Love Is Like Whoa by Maya. Emma continues to sing and dance suggestively as her clothes changes into various seductive outfits magically. Emma then removes her underwear, approaches Chris and sits on his lap. They talk between soft kisses and begin to make love in the theater as we watch Chicago in the background. Then the background changes, and we begin to see some of the best love scene in the history of films in montage. It's like Cinema Paradiso kissing montage, love scene between Rachel McAdams and Ryan Gosling in The Notebook, a sex scene between Natalie Portman and Mila Kunis in Black Swan, the pottery love scene between Demi Moore and Patrick Swayze, roller coaster climax scene between Reese Witherspoon and Mark Wahlberg in Fear. The steamy love scene in the cargo of a car between Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio in Titanic. The sex scene on the wheat fields between Scarlett Johansson and Jonathan Rhys-Meyers in Match Point, a couple of love scene between Diana Lane and Oliver Martinez in Unfaithful, Sharon Stone crossing her leg scene in Basic Instinct. Kiss scene in Beach between Burt Lancaster and Deborah Kerr in From Here to Eternity, Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt going at it in Mr. and Mrs. Smith, a couple of love scene from Pretty Women between Richard Gere and Julia Roberts including Making Out in the Piano, the sex scene between Halle Berry and Billy Bob Thornton, etc. Nevertheless, it's nothing even close compared to Chris and Emma love scene. They are going at it for real. Chris is entering Emma enchantingly. She is dying with pleasure. We stay with them for a bit. Int. Restaurant, night. Chris and Emma sit at a table enjoying wine while conversing. On the stage, Sam Smith sings Lionel Richie's Stuck on You. Chris gives Emma his hand to dance. They come to the dance floor and dance slow. Then on the soundtrack, Say You Say Me by Lionel Richie himself plays. EXT Beverly Hilton Rooftop Night. Chris and Emma are kissing near the swimming pool. Chris then picks her up and throws her in the swimming pool. He somersault jumps in the water. They kiss in the pool, remove each other clothes completely while kissing and swimming and begin to make love inside the pool. On the soundtrack, Say You Say Me continues to play. We see the spectacular view of Los Angeles City. Int. New Corvette convertible, moving, night. Chris is behind the wheel. Emma is in the passenger seat. It's a new 2015 Corvette. They are driving deep in Hollywood. On the soundtrack Faded by Zhu plays. Chris, where are you taking me? Emma, just keep driving. I will let you know when we get there. EXT Corvette convertible, moving, night. Medium shot of the convertible as they continue to drive in the street of Los Angeles. EXT Palace, night. It's a big villa. It looks like Buckingham Palace. Chris and Emma come to the house and park the car next to the house. They get out of the car. A parking attendant approaches Chris to take the car's key. Chris gives him the key. The attendant gets behind the wheel and drives the car away to park it. Chris and Emma walk to the palace. A doorman, who is wearing a suit, greets Emma, opens the door and lets them in. Int. Palace, night. A big sex party is in progress. We see all kinds of people wearing S&M outfits dancing exotic and having erotic sex throughout the palace. Chris and Emma walk in the middle of these sex extravaganza without a drop of clothes. On the soundtrack, Zhu continues to play. Chris has never seen anything like this. It's the biggest private sex party we have ever seen. It has club kind of atmosphere. It could be a club. It's huge. People are having sex right and left tied up with rope, chains, S&M, BDMS, sex slaves, and various erotic acts while dancing as if like there is no tomorrow. Some of them are having orgy. They are having sex in the dance floor. They are having sex in the VIP rooms. Emma acts natural. Some of them are wearing French masks to conceal their identities. Some of them do not care who see them. We see videos of the people having sex and partying in multiple screens throughout the palace. They are recorded by various camera. Chris sees a beautiful girl named Lillian who looks exactly like Nicola Peltz, she might be her twin, dancing with a big muscular man. He is touching her sexually, squeezing her breasts, fingering her and all. Yet, she is looking at Chris as if she had known him all her life. Then two Asian girls, Lucy and Tina, approach Chris and Emma. Emma gives them a nod. Lucy and Tina take Chris's arms. Emma tells him she will be right back and to have fun. She leaves him with Lucia and Tina. Emma walks toward the main VIP room. Lucia and Tina take Chris to a VIP room. Int. Palace, main VIP room, night. A man named Justin sits at a glass coffee table nude with about 10 of the most beautiful women in the world. They are doing cocaine and drinking all kinds of alcoholic beverage. Some of the girls are nude. Some of the girls are wearing S&M outfits. Justin looks exactly like Michael Fassbender. He takes few pills. Then all of the sudden, Justin gets up, pulls one of the girls by the hair, drags her down the floor like a doll, slaps her hard on the face, bends her and fucks her doggy style. The girl seems to enjoy it. She is making all kinds of sexual sounds like a porn star. She is also high of drugs. Justin then pulls her hair and throws her on the floor. Justin grabs a whiskey and pours on her. He pulls her hair and kisses her lips. She kisses him passionately. Justin bites her lips, headbutts her on the face and slaps her with the back of his hand. She falls down on the floor bleeding. Justin pulls her hair and make her suck his dick sadistically while she is bleeding from her lips and nose. She passionately does it like a pro. At the entrance, Emma walks in. Justin looks at her. He pushes the girl, who is giving him blowjob, and approaches Emma. They kiss intimately. But Justin senses something. He snaps his fingers. All the girls get up and leave the room. Justin then grabs his cell phone, presses a button and throws it away. He kisses Emma's lips softly. Out of nowhere produces a powerful drug called X, place it on his mouth and passes it to Emma. They kiss French. They kiss more alluringly. All of the sudden, Justin pulls Emma's hair, grabs her throat, lifts her up in the air and crashes her against the glass coffee table violently with the cocaine and alcohols. Emma falls through the glass, whiskey and cocaine are on her face and bleeding from her head badly. Justin gets between her legs, lifts one of her legs, and fucks her violently while she is lying on the broken glass bleeding. Emma then gets on top of him and rides him. There is blood on her back from the broken glasses. Then two Caucasian and two black muscular men enter the room. One of them grabs her hair, drags her down the floor and throws her on the bed. They begin to rape her as Justin sits in the sofa and watches the rape and voyeurism while masturbating. It's televised live for all of them to see it. VIP room. Lucy and Tina are making love to Chris. Lucy is kissing his lips. Tina is giving him a blowjob. Lucy then gets on top of him and begins to ride him as Tina lies next to Chris and fingers herself. Lillian stands at the door and looks at him. Chris sees her. He slowly pushes Lucy aside, gets up, and walks up to Lillian. They kiss French. Lillian parts her lips, gives Lucy and Tina a wink. They get up and leaves the room. Chris and Lillian kiss intimately. She then walks to the bed, lies on the bed and spreads her legs seductively. Chris gets between her legs, kisses her lips sweetly and enters her as they begin to make love. Main VIP room. The four muscular men continue to rape Emma, who is now tied up with rope and S&M sadistically. Yet she is enjoying it. Justin then snaps his finger. They stop and get off her. Two beautiful girls enter the room with whips. The first two muscular men take the whips. The third muscular man lifts up Emma, who is tied up in BDSM, and takes her toward the exit. The main sex floor. The muscular man brings Emma to the center stage. Justin and the others come and tie her up against a pole. It is the moment everybody has been waiting for. They stop what they are doing and watch the act in great anticipation. The two men begin to scourge Emma like Jesus Christ. Emma's skin peels off from her back. We see blood flying everywhere. VIP room. Chris doesn't have knowledge about what is going on. He continues to make love to Lillian. Televisions show the passion of Emma above. The main sex club. They continue to whip Emma more. They then untie her. Muscular man 4 grabs her hair, drags her down on the floor and pulls her up, making her stand on her feet. Justin puts thorn of crown around her head and exhibits her to the crowd. The people cheers like New Year Eve. On the soundtrack, My Immortal plays by Evanescent. Some of the women are fingering themselves. Some of the men are masturbating as if they are experiencing spiritual enlightenment while speaking in tongues. They then bring a cross from the backstage, put Emma on the cross and place a nail on her right wrist and hammer it through her hand into the wood. Emma screams in pain. They place another nail on her left wrist and hammer it. She continues to cry in pain. They then put a nail on her foot, hammer it, throw her feet deep into the wood. They lift up the cross and crucify her. The crowd make noise cheering as if it were the birth of Eve. Rose petals fall from the sky like celebration. The DJ plays Closer by 9 Inch Nails mixed with dance music, and they all begin to celebrate with sex as Emma bleeds to death, or rather death by asphyxiation, heart failure, a blood clot in the lungs, and hypovolemic shock due to low volume blood. Chris continues to have sex with Lillian. He is not aware of Emma is on the cross dying. He then reaches climax and comes inside Lillian and lies on his back. He looks at the televisions on top. Emma is on the cross. Chris quickly gets up and runs to the main sex club. Chris walks through the erotic madness, pushing some of them away from his paths. Chris comes to Emma. She seems unconscious. Her eyes are closed. She is bathed with blood. Chris touches her leg to wake her up. He doesn't know if she is dead or alive. Chris shouts her name Emma. But the music is loud. She can't hear him. However, Emma opens her eyes and looks at him. On the soundtrack, Losing My Religion by REM plays. Tears fill her eyes, roll down by her cheeks and drop on Chris's face with blood as he continues to look at her in pain. Chris, I will bring you down. Chris looks at the nail on her feet. It's nailed deep into the wood. He needs a pincer to pull it out. Where is he going to get that? Chris is lost. He looks around as if he is asking who is responsible for this. Every direction he looks at, people are having sex, doing drugs, dancing and partying. It is a beautiful hell. Chris then sees a pincer down the floor along with hammers and nails. Chris walks rapidly toward the devices, grabs the pincer, returns to Emma and begins to remove the nail from her feet. A lot of blood come out of her feet. Emma is in a lot of pain. Chris covers the blood with his hand. He needs help. He can't bring her down by himself. She is hanging on the cross only with her wrists. Chris then sees Lillian right down by the floor. Chris, help me please. Lillian gets on the stage. Chris, hold on her feet. Let me get that table. Lillian holds her feet. Chris walks to the table. A man and woman are having sex on the table. The woman is on top of the man, riding him cowgirl style. Chris says I need the table, and pushes them from the table. With amazing strength, Chris lifts the table like a chair and begins to carry it toward the stage. Yet his eyes guide him to a ladder down by the wall. He puts the table aside and runs to the ladder. Chris picks up the ladder and begins to walk toward the stage. He then stops at a girl, who is tied up in BDSM, and a man is having sex with her. He pushes the guy away, takes the ropes from her hands and legs and returns to Emma. Chris quickly climbs the ladder, ties her right arm around the cross with the rope, so she won't fall down. He slowly removes the nail from her wrist. Blood gashes out. Lillian looks at them in pain as she continues to hold Emma's legs. Yet nobody in the club give a fuck. They continue to have sex, do all kinds of drugs, drink like hell, dance like guilty feeling has rhythm and get lost in the moment. Chris gets down from the ladder, brings it in the left side, climbs on the ladder and ties her left arm with the rope and slowly removes the nail from her hand. He throws the nail and the pincher on the floor. He gets the ladder in the middle, untied the rope in the right hand and holds her. He then untie the left rope. She falls inside his arms. He slowly brings her down from the cross and carries her. She opens her eyes and looks at him. It is Chris. Emma puts her arms around him. He kisses her lips. Chris, we are going home, dreamboat. Chris takes a step. The music stops silent. Then out of nowhere comes Justin. He claps his hands in applaud. Justin, bravo. That was impressive. But where are you taking her? Chris doesn't say anything. All eyes are on them. Lillian, he is taking her to hospital. She is dying. Justin, she was supposed to die. That's why we crucified her. To Chris, put her down on the floor. We are going to place her back on the cross. You are welcome to stay and watch her die. But you cannot take her alive. Lillian, why don't you leave them alone? Justin gives Lillian a sharp look. She gets quiet. Justin, I am going to say this one last time. Put her down. Chris is not going to put her down. The four muscular men begin to move toward him. Justin then looks at a beautiful naked girl named Anne, who looks like Alicia Vikander. She is sitting on a sofa in the middle of the room. Anne has a sex slave, who is chained like a dog. He is eating her pussy while she is smoking cigarette and holding the chain with style. Anne gives Justin a faint nod, let them go. Chris looks at her. Justin stands aside. Justin, to muscular men, let them go. Chris gets down from the stage carrying Emma and walks toward the exit. The crowd stand aside as Chris moves toward the exit carrying Emma like Moses splitting the Red Sea. Justin looks at them for seconds. He then snaps his finger. The music continued to play. But it's not the same song. The DJ played Fade to Black by Metallica mixed with Paranoid Black Sabbath and techno. People resume dancing and continue to have sex, as if there were the birth of lust, wantonness, lechery, and sin. Chris continues to move through the crowd while carrying Emma. However, Chris has to push the crowd who is dancing as if they are possessed by unknown forces. Chris and Emma manage to exit the room. EXT Palace, night. Chris stands outside while carrying Emma next to his heart. On the soundtrack, With or Without You by U2 plays. They are both naked. The parking attendant comes driving the convertible and pulls next to them. Chris puts Emma in the passenger seat and walks around the car. The parking attendant gives Chris the key. Chris gets behind the wheel, starts the car, presses a button and covers the top and drives away. Chris puts the heat on and continues to drive like a madman. He exits the palace, gets on the main street and begins to drive to the nearest hospital he could think of. He steps on the gas and drives faster. EXT Corvette, moving, night. An established shot of Corvette as Chris and Emma continues to drive down the street of Los Angeles. Int. Corvette, moving, night. Chris keeps looking at Emma while driving. She is asleep like Sleeping Beauty covered with blood. Emma still looks alluringly beautiful. There is a blood on her eyebrow. It is about to enter her eyes. Chris cleans it from her eyebrow with his right hand while his left hand on the wheel. He then tastes the blood and steps on the gas, passing all kinds of cars that are driving in front of him like a professional F1 driver. Speedometer shows 110 miles per hour. On the soundtrack, Stitch by Shawn Mendes and Hailee Steinfeld comes replacing With or Without You. EXT Corvette convertible, moving, night. Various shots of Corvette convertible passing the cars in front of it as Chris and Emma continue to drive in the streets of Los Angeles. We then take it with overhead shot. EXT UCLA Ronald Reagan Hospital, night. An established shot of Ronald Reagan Hospital. Chris and Emma come to the hospital driving. Chris parks the car in front of the hospital. He gets out the Corvette, walks around the car, opens the passenger door, carries Emma and takes her to the hospital without a single drop of cloth. Int. UCLA Ronald Reagan Hospital, ER, night. Chris walks down the lobby carrying Emma. A security guard thinks about stopping them for a second. However, he looks at Emma, who is covered with blood, and chooses to stand back. Chris continues to take her to the ER. Everybody watches them in shock. Chris opens the main emergency room door and enters carrying Emma. Main ER. Chris puts her on a medical stretcher that happens to be next to the wall. The doctors and nurses run to help her. They all look stunned. But they are professional. Doctors and nurses rush her to surgery room and try to save her life, putting oxygen mask on her mouth, attaching glucose on her arms, stopping the bleeding, applying medical dressing on her wounds, etc. Emma might need blood transfusion. She had lost a lot of blood. The doctors are doing everything in their power to keep her alive. This is not your typical ER drama. They have an angel of God, who she is bearing the stigmata of Christ, figuratively speaking. She is also raped and beaten badly. Then comes Dr. Jones. He's the leading doctor. Enters the room and quickly takes over the surgery. Chris watches everything in pain. A nurse approaches him and gives him a medical cloth to put on. Chris puts it on and continues to watch Emma, standing at the door as they continue to aid her. On the soundtrack, Stitches continues to play. A nurse named Julie tells him to wait at the waiting room. Chris takes few steps toward the exit, returns back and continues to look at Emma as soon as Nurse Julie turns her back. Then comes a nurse named Sophia and tells Chris that he has to fill a couple of forms. She also asks Chris to wait outside and escorts him toward the waiting room. Waiting room. Chris comes to the waiting room. There are not a lot of people at this time of the hour, about 3 or 4. A nurse named Rita approaches him with a form and asks him to come with her and give her information about the patient. Chris follows her and begins to give her information. Int. Main emergency room, night. Emma lies on the medical bed. The doctors and the nurses are taking her to the surgery room while holding the glucose. We take it with overhead shot and close up as they continue to take her to the operation room. Int. Surgery room, night. The doctors and the nurses bring Emma to operation room and continue to give her all kinds of medical attentions. The medical light glows on her face. She looks like a saint from heaven. On the soundtrack, Days Goes By plays by Dirty Vegas. Int. UCLA Medical Hospital waiting room, night. Chris sits on a chair and waits for news. EXT/int. New Corvette convertible, moving, night. Chris drives in the streets of Los Angeles. On the soundtrack, Days Go By continues to play. Chris is in the state of dream. The moon turns into a sun and explode in the air. We see some of the things Chris and Emma did in the billboards and series flashbacks. We also add new materials, Emma dancing in clubs, posing for photographers, filming, making out with Chris, etc. EXT Pacific Ocean, morning. We see the sun rising on the Pacific Ocean. Int. UCLA Medical Hospital, day. Emma lies on the medical bed. Days Go By continues to play. She is sleeping. Chris walks into the room. He is still wearing a medical outfit. He comes to the bed and gives her a soft kiss on the lips. On the soundtrack What You Know by Two Door Cinema Club play. Emma opens her eyes and looks at him. Her eyes fill with tears. She removes the glucose from her arm, the oxygen from her nose and cuddles him. They kiss intimately. Out of nowhere, Chris produces a cute Yorkshire Terrier and gives the dog to Emma. She is happy. The dog licks her face. Chris and Emma kiss more intimately. Chris climbs on the medical bed. They talk between soft kisses as the dog licks Emma's face. We do not hear what they are saying due to the music on the soundtrack. Chris and Emma then kiss passionately. Int. UCLA Medical Hospital, day. Chris pushes Emma in a wheelchair down the hallway. She has the Yorkshire Terrier on her lap. Chris and Emma come to the elevator. Chris clicks a button. The elevator doors open. Chris slowly wheels Emma into the elevator. A nurse named Diana sees them as they leave. She runs toward the elevator. Nurse Diana, wait. You are not supposed to take her yet. She's not cleared. The elevator doors close behind the nurse just as she gets near. She presses the button with no avail. Int. UCLA Medical Hospital, lobby, day. The elevator doors open at the lobby. Chris and Emma get out of the elevator. Chris wheels Emma toward the exit. EXT UCLA Medical Hospital, parking lot, convertible, day. Chris comes to the Corvette wheeling Emma who is holding the Yorkshire Terrier on her lap. On the soundtrack What You Know continues to play. Chris opens the car door, carries Emma, slowly places Emma in the passenger seat with her Yorkshire Terrier. Emma pulls his shirt and kisses him French. They kiss more intimately as if their lips and tongues made of the fountain of love and passion. They part their lips. Chris closes the door, ditches the wheelchair at the parking lot, comes around the car and gets behind the wheel. Int. Corvette convertible, day. Chris starts the car and plays You Rock My World by Michael Jackson on the stereo. They pull out of the parking lot, get onto the street and drive away. EXT convertible, moving, day. Chris and Emma drive in the Pacific Coast Highway. Chris is humming You Rock My World almost singing. Emma can't help it. She sings with him. EXT Chris and Emma's beach house, day. Chris and Emma come driving and park the Corvette in front of the house. Chris steps out, comes around the car, opens the passenger door and carries Emma out of the vehicle. She is holding the dog next to her heart. Chris gives her a kiss on the lips and takes her to their new house. Int. Chris and Emma's beach house bedroom, day. Chris comes to the bedroom carrying Emma and places her in the bedroom. Emma puts Yorkshire Terrier on the bed. Chris and Emma talk between soft kisses, but we don't hear what they are saying due to You Rock My World. They then kiss passionately for long seconds. The music then falls in the background and plays softly. He then. Chris, I will be right back. Let me make you breakfast. Emma, please don't go. I am not hungry. They exchange soft kisses. Emma, just make love to me. She pulls him, puts her arms around him, and they kiss French. On the soundtrack, Your Body is Wonderland by John Mayer plays. The dog plays with Emma's hair. Chris grabs him, puts it on the floor and gets on the bed. Chris and Emma kiss French. She pulls his hair with passion. He gets between her legs and kisses her breasts. He kisses her lips and enters her as they begin to have sexual intercourse. It's a bloody sex. We see blood leaving from Emma's wrists and feet. When we think we have seen it all, she removes the medical dressing from her hands and feet. On the soundtrack, Metallica Enter Sandman plays. Emma gets on top of Chris and ride him supernaturally as if she is possessed by unknown forces. We have never seen anything like these. She is floating. Blood is exiting from her wrists, back and feet. The blankets is covered with Emma's blood. Chris gets her in the bottom and continues to enter her soulfully. But she wants him to pick up the pace. She scratches his back and slaps his butt. He increases the speed. She wraps her legs around him. Blood continues to exit from Emma's wrists and feet. They kiss French. It's luscious. They take love-making in cinema to the next level. EXT Chris and Emma's house bedroom, day. Emma sits on the bed. She is nude. Chris is in the middle of applying first aid on her wound. On the soundtrack, Adore You by Miley Cyrus plays. It's also playing on the stereo. Emma is singing with Miley. Chris places medical alcohol on her wrist. Emma screams like a little girl. Emma, it burns like hell. Chris, I am sorry. Emma, why are you sorry? Chris, I didn't mean to burn you. Emma, it's okay. It doesn't hurt that bad. He continues to apply first aid. He seems lost. Emma continues to sing. Emma, what's in your mind? Chris, nothing. I thought I lost you forever. Emma, what would you have done if you lost me forever? Chris, I'd just spend the rest of my life crying next to your tombstone. She smiles in beauty. Emma, that's sweet. Chris continues to clean her wounds, applies first aid and medical dressing on Emma's wrists and feet as she continues to sing. Emma, but that's not the answer I expected. Chris, what did you expect? Emma, humorously, I thought you were going to say you would dig a hole and fuck the dirt that covered my grave. Chris smiles big. He didn't know she was a comedian. Emma then lies on her chest. Chris cleans the wounds on her back. It looks romantic. It makes us forget everything even though there are cuts on her back as if she were hit by lightning. Emma, I feel like Dakota Johnson in the 50 Shade of Grey. Chris, humorously, I can write you 50 Shade of Emma if you want to. But you are not going to involve in any S&M act. You just fall head over heels in love. In the end, you meet the man of your dream on top of the Empire State Building like an Affair to Remember starring Cary Grant and Deborah Kerr, Without the Accident, or Sleepless in Seattle starring Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan, a beautiful romantic comedy. Emma lies on her back. Emma, I am fine. I want to do S&M. This is not going to change anything. Chris, it's up to you. Chris gives Emma a soft kiss on the lips. Emma, snotty yet humorously, I hate romantic comedy. I need something stronger than romantic comedy. I want X-rated of 50 Shade, something erotic. I want to feel your beautiful penis inside my vagina raw, day and night. Chris smiles in wonder and plants soft kiss on her lips. Chris, if you put it down like that, I might write you a story about a girl named Amelia, who owns a multi-billion-dollar pharmaceutical company called Emiliv that makes all kinds of drugs. It's equivalent of Pfizer, which also produces pills enhance performance, stamina, and energy. And involves with a man named Louis in a beautiful S&M sex. But she is not the victim. You know, Amelia is not submissive. She is dominance. She is in charge of the game. Chris gives her a soft kiss on the lips. Emma, I like being submissive and getting tied up. I want you to mix it up. Chris, as you wish. Chris gives her a soft kiss. Emma, pay me a compliment. Chris, softly down by her lips, my heart lies to my lips with each skip beat. My lips to your ambrosial lips, so suave, so sweet. Not to resist nor to tryst, but to kiss and bliss. Your eyes deceive my heart, so taboo, so true. Not to fear nor to dear, but to near and sear. My tongue betrays your tongue. So selfish, so giving. Not to sip nor to weep, but to dip and whip. Your beauty confesses true love to my soul. So luscious, so endearing. Not to adore, nor to worship. Your beauty is like morning stardust. Beyond idolization and exceeds faith. It's the very thing that makes my soul tick. Nor to breathe. Not to freeze. Yet, to lick so sick. Emma smiles in beauty. Chris gives her a soft kiss on the lips. She puts her arms around him. They kiss more intimately. Int. Restaurant, night. Chris and Emma sit at a romantic restaurant and have wine. On the stage, Sarah McLachlan sings Fallen while playing piano. Chris and Emma are conversing. But we don't hear what they are saying due to the music. Sarah McLachlan then begins to sing Building a Mystery. Chris gives her his hand. Emma takes his hand. They come to the dance floor and dance slow. They are talking between soft kisses. They then kiss French. Then on the soundtrack, Sarah McLachlan Angel plays. Int. Chris and Emma's house, bedroom, night. Chris and Emma make love with Sarah McLachlan's Angel. We stay with them with series cuts. EXT Chris's boat, floating, day. It's a beautiful luxurious boat. It's floating at the coast of Malibu. Int. Chris's boat, floating, kitchen, day. Chris and Emma are in the middle of cooking seafood. On the soundtrack, Girl by Beck plays. They talk between soft kisses. They then begin to sing down by each other's lips as they continue to exchange soft kiss. Chris and Emma, singing together. And I know I'm gonna steal her eye, she doesn't even know what's wrong. And I know I'm gonna make her die, take her where her soul belongs, and I know I am going to steal her eye, nothing that I wouldn't try, hey, my cyanide girl. They then dance slow and kiss French. They are kissing as if their lips and tongues are made out of the lust in their souls. Int. Chris's boat, floating, deck, later. Chris and Emma sit at a table and have lunch, what they just cooked. Emma looks at her cell phone. Emma, you have a message from Leonardo DiCaprio. He said he wanted to talk to you. Chris, just never mind him. We are taking break. Emma, what does he want? Chris, I wrote a plot titled Killing Me Softly based on Memories of Murder Korean film. He wants to do it. Emma, what's it about? Chris, it is about a brutal homicide detective named Michelangelo played by Leonardo hunts for a serial killer, who rapes and kills women based on Chinese astrology in Boston area. Seductive Pain, Part 22. Chris, it's not your typical serial killer story. Michelangelo is a villain himself. He would do anything to get information leading to conviction, which includes torturing suspects in his warehouse without a sense of regret. He has a partner, a detective named John, equally cruel played by Tom Hardy. In terms of good cop and bad cop during interrogation, Michelangelo is bad. Actually, there are no good cops. Michelangelo would beat a suspect inch to death if it's absolutely necessity. John is pure savage. Sometimes, he bites their cheeks off and eats it raw in front of them if he is convinced they are serial killers. But that hasn't happened for a while. He has cooled down for past few years. Victim 1 is found in the forest. She is a college student about 22, raped, stripped nude and branded with yin and yang symbol on her chest. The words rat in Chinese is written on her forehead. The killer had placed a rat inside her private part. The forensics also finds in her belly. Michelangelo and John question her friends and the usual suspects, register sex offenders. Where they were, what they were doing and who they were with, etc. They beat a couple of suspects for a confession. Some confess wrongfully. Others deny any wrongdoing. In the meantime, a young rookie FBI agent named Amelia is asked by FBI to investigate the case and report to Special Agent Matthew Jones. It is her first case. Actually, Amelia is assigned to assist them. The case is not federal yet. It is a sort of homework. I had you in mind for the role. Note, if it's convenient, we might see Leonardo in the starring role, and Emma plays the heroine. Chris, Amelia doesn't like their method of brutality, but she is attracted to Michelangelo and also admires how organized and determined he is, despite the fact he is a psychopath. The serial killer murders again. The victim 2 is found nude branded with yin and yang. The words ox in Chinese is written on her forehead. The killer sacrificed an ox, glued its horns on the victim's head, cut her stomach, placed the ox's heart inside her belly and sew it back. He then placed the nude body on the ox's skin. Some thinks it's a work of art. The forensics also find the tongue of the ox inside the victim's vagina. Amelia knows they are dealing with an intelligent serial killer. She tells them this is just the beginning. The killer is murdering based on Chinese horoscope. Tiger, rabbit, dragon, snake, horse, goat, monkey, rooster, dog, and pig are to follow. The killer will not stop till he completes his act. The trio continue to work on the case. They get new lead on the suspect. It's a man named Peter, who was last seen with victim 2. He is a registered sex offender. Michelangelo cuffs him on a chair nude, slices his body with a knife and empties a whiskey on him. Michelangelo is about to burn him alive if Peter does not confess. Amelia is watching everything in dismay. She can't take it anymore and asks Michelangelo to stop it. Michelangelo takes her to the bathroom and kisses her intimately. He then tears her shirt, caresses her neck and bites her breasts sexually. They kiss French and have a passionate sexual intercourse in the bathroom. He then tells her, "I know what I am doing." She asks him, "Do you really?" Michelangelo replies, "I got it under control," kisses her lips softly, and returns to Peter. John is beating the shit out of him. Michelangelo gives John a nod to do you know what. John bites Peter's cheek off and eats it raw as Amelia watches in shock. It's one of the craziest things we have ever seen in cinema. Peter has no choice but to confess. They record his confession. He says he raped them, removed their clothes and brands them with iron. Michelangelo then tells Amelia and John to leave him alone with the suspect. He pours whiskey on Peter's cheek and punches him on the wound till Peter's blood splatters on his face. Michelangelo breaks the whiskey bottle and stabs Peter in the neck just a little bit to draw blood and says, "I want you to stop bullshitting me. They're missing girls. I know you killed them. I don't give a fuck. They are already dead. But I wanted to know what you did with their bodies." Michelangelo stabs him more. Peter tells him where they are. The Boston police dig the area and find 10 bodies of missing girls. FBI is called to analyze the case. Peter is charged for first-degree murder. The case is closed. Michelangelo, John, and Amelia celebrate the victory at an Irish bar in South Boston. They have few drinks. Michelangelo and Amelia dance slow, come to her house and make love in the candlelight. It's steamy, seductive, and sensual. Later, sitting in the bathtub, Amelia asks him why Michelangelo uses violence to catch and convict bad guys. Michelangelo tells her he lost his mother to cancer when he was 5. He still does not know who his father is. His mother, Sarah, told him his father left her before Michelangelo was born. Sarah worked at a restaurant as a waitress. Maybe she had one night stand, became pregnant and decided to keep the baby. That is just Michelangelo's theory. Regardless, his sister, Natalie, who was 9 years older than him and whom Sarah gave birth to in her teen, raised him. Natalie was only 14, had to quit school and work at the restaurant where his mother used to work as a waitress while staying in a single-bedroom apartment and sharing a bed together. Later, Natalie becomes a stripper. They moved to a new house while she was paying for his tuition at a private school. Then one day, a man raped and sodomized her, slit her throat and dumped her body in the trash. The police didn't find the killer, who destroyed the evidence with bleach inside out and got away clean. Michelangelo wants to make sure that would not happen again. Amelia tells him she is sorry to hear that. However, Michelangelo could go to prison if he continues to use violence to solve crime. The DA also might not get conviction due to police brutality if the suspects are bitten like bad hamburgers. Michelangelo tells her he does not care about the conviction. His job is to solve the case by all means necessary. Amelia tells him he has to put his emotion aside and should always focus on the investigation. Michelangelo tells her that is the best piece of advice anybody has ever given him. Yet, Michelangelo thinks they have the wrong man in custody. He tells Amelia when he usually tortures suspects, those who confess to the crime, are innocent. However, those, who are refused to confess, are guilty. The reason Michelangelo tortured Peter is because he knew Peter was guilty of something and reminded him his sister's killer. But Peter didn't murder those two girls. The killer is still out there. Amelia tells him if he's out there, they will find him, they will arrest him and, humorously imitating Lima Nelson in Taken, they will kill him. Michelangelo and Amelia kiss intimately and make love all night. Victim number 3 is found in Tiger Gate at Boston Zoo with a tiger that has no teeth circling her body. She is branded with yin and yang. The words tiger in Chinese is written on her forehead. The forensics find a baby tiger inside her belly and the tiger teeth in her vagina. They reopen the case. Michelangelo and Amelia investigate the case. They know they are dealing with the Prince of Darkness himself, figuratively speaking. They question a couple of suspects. In the meantime, FBI ask Boston Homicide Division to hand over the case and all the evidence. But Boston Police Department refused to hand over the case. Instead, Capital Carter, BPD, tell FBI it is their case and will hold on to it till further notice. Both parties agree to work together as a team. Michelangelo, Amelia, and John continue to investigate the case. They come to the first crime scene. They hear a sound and hide by the woods. A young man about 26 comes to the crime scene, places a woman underwear and bra, removes all of his clothes naked and begins to masturbate. Michelangelo, Amelia, and John come out of the hide and point their guns at him and tell him to freeze. But the man ignores their warning and runs like a deer through the wood. He is lightning fast. They chase him down the forest like wolves. Amelia is in good shape. She keeps up with the suspect. John is out of breath and is left behind. Michelangelo is a madman. He thinks he must catch the son of bitch no matter what. He is like a Wolverine despite the fact he smokes cigarette as if they were bad for sense of humor. Yet his lungs are burning carbon monoxide of whatever it is. He is filled with adrenaline beyond explanation. But the naked man is running for his life. He must have stopped breathing altogether, and can't be caught. The young man comes to the edge of a cliff, down by the river, just jumps blindly and falls in the water. Amelia stops at the edge of the cliff. She thinks it's insane. Michelangelo passes by her, doesn't even hesitate, jumps into the river and goes after the suspect. Amelia doesn't believe what she's looking at. She quickly takes out her cell phone and calls for helicopter. The suspect continues to swim down the river as if he was world champion of triathlon. Michelangelo is behind him. He's not going to let the man escape. They come to a big waterfall and crash down the river. They are fine and continue to swim. Michelangelo then holds on to a branch. There is a bigger waterfall ahead. He is not that crazy. But the suspect goes for it. We don't know what happened to him. He disappears in the waterfall. Michelangelo continues to hold on to the branch in the middle of the water. FBI helicopter comes and rescues him. The paramedics treat him for bruises and cuts. He'll be fine. FBI, Boston Police, and Navy divers search the river as well as the area for the suspect with dogs and all. Yet they find nothing. Later, victim number 4 is found inside her house with about 100 bunnies. The words rabbit in Chinese is written on her forehead. The killer attached rabbit's ear on her ears. He opened her belly, put a live rabbit in her belly and sewed it back. He placed a rabbit foot inside her vagina, branded her with yin and yang and put her body on the middle of the living room. There is pornography video of a man having sex with the victim. But we don't see his face. He is wearing a rabbit mask. He has a Bugs Bunny tattoo on his arm. The victim might be drugged during the sex even though it seems she is into it. Michelangelo, Amelia, and John, FBI and Boston Police come to the crime scene and investigate the crime scene. FBI and Boston Police run the tattoo in the database. It's not listed. The man has no criminal record. Later, Michelangelo tells his drug dealer/tattoo artist cousin Jim in South Boston to do him a favor. When Jim sees a man who has a rabbit tattoo, to give him a call. Michelangelo, Amelia, and John continue to question suspects. Still they do not know what happened to the man who disappeared in the waterfall. Victim number 5 is found in the museum. We see all kinds of dragon paintings in display. The killer put her in a leather outfit that reveals her breasts and vagina in erotica. He cut her body and placed our tube and gas, so she could breathe fire like a dragon. It is pure evil. The word dragon in Chinese is written on her forehead. The forensics find a bird inside her belly and a lizard inside her vagina. Michelangelo and Amelia question the painter. His name is Louis. He says unknown man paid him a lot of money to paint the pictures. They ask Louis to give them the description of the man. Louis gives Amanda, Boston police sketch artist, the face of the suspect. They post it on the news. His name is Frank. The FBI SWAT and Boston police come to Frank's house after his wife, Jessica, calls the cops. FBI arrests Frank. They question him. Frank gives them the same reply. Unknown man paid him cash. Frank gives the description of the man. They post the picture in the news. The man turns himself to Boston police and tells them the same thing. Michelangelo knows it's a game. The killer is toying with them. Victim number 6 is found in a theater. About 100 snakes are crawling throughout the theater. The word snake in Chinese is written on her forehead. The killer placed a copra inside her belly, sewed it back and branded her with yin and yang. The forensics also find a smaller snake inside her vagina. Michelangelo and Amelia question a couple of suspects. In the meantime, Amelia asked Michelangelo an important question: how does the killer choose his victims? Is it random? What need does it serves him? What's the motive behind the killings? Nobody has the answer to those questions. Victim number 7 is found at the farm. The killer placed her nude body inside the horse like Leo in The Revenant. I am kidding. He stripped her clothes, cut her stomach, put a horse's heart in her belly, branded her with yin and yang and placed her body on parched grasses. This audio file was created by Panopreter Basic. You can download it at www.panopreter.com. The words horse in Chinese is written on her forehead. He cuts the horse's neck and put it on her head in decoration. The forensics also find the horses in her vagina. Amelia thinks the killings are not random. They have some kind of connection. The killer chooses his victims based on their birthday. But still they have no clue who is next. Meanwhile, Jim runs into a man named Lamar, the bunny man, at a tattoo festival, sees the tattoo on his shoulder and calls Michelangelo. He tells him to keep eyes on him and do not let him out of his sight. Michelangelo and John kidnap Lamar and torture him. He says the killer injected him with various sex drugs and paid him to have sex with the victim or he would kill him. Not only Lamar feared for his life, but he also couldn't control his sexual urge. They ask him to give them the description of the man. Lamar gives Amanda the description of the man. Michelangelo knows who the man is right away. It's Alex. He used to teach at University of Boston at the age of 26 till he was charged of raping 32 college students after he charmed and drugged them. Yet only 3 girls filed rape charges. Most of them refused to press charges against him. They settled the case under the table. Alex got away with it clean. Michelangelo and John come to his house without telling neither FBI nor Boston Police Department and kidnapped Alex. They bring him to the warehouse, strip his clothes nude, cuff him to a chair and begin to torture him for confession. Alex tells them he didn't do it. John bites Alex's cheek off and eats it in front of him. Michelangelo steps on his chewed face and punches him several times. It is one of the most brutal things we've ever seen in the history of cinema. Alex continues to tell them he is innocent. Amelia comes driving to the warehouse and sees Michelangelo beating Alex senselessly. Amelia takes out her gun, points it at Michelangelo and tells him to stop it or threatens to shoot him. Michelangelo looks at her in disbelief as if he is saying, "What is the world coming to?" He removes his shirt, approaches her and tells her to shoot him in the heart. Amelia has no intention of shooting him. Michelangelo takes the gun from her hand and throws it away. He gives John a nod to step outside. In a flash, he grabs her hair, pulls her closer and kisses her lips passionately. She kisses him hungrily. He then rips her shirt savagely, exposing her breasts. He kisses them and sucks her nipples. They are making out in front of Alex. Michelangelo then punches Alex on the face hard and pushes the chair that Alex is cuffed on. Alex falls on his face. Michelangelo looses the cuff from Alex's hands, headbutts him on the nose and hits his balls with his knee. He then punches him across the face and knocks him down. Michelangelo removes his clothes nude, kisses Amelia on the lips, and all of a sudden he slaps her on the face hard, pulls her hair and pushes her at Alex. She falls on him. Michelangelo then bends her, tears her underwear and fucks her doggy style. It feels like he's raping her. Yet Amelia is into it. She is telling him to fuck her harder, talking dirty. Alex is underneath her. Her breasts are pressed on his body. Michelangelo spits on his face. What's the fuck are you looking at? He gets up and kicks him on the head. Michelangelo then turns Amelia around. She removes her dress nude, rests her head on Alex, who is lying almost unconscious, and makes herself comfortable as if she is using him for a pillow. She spreads her legs seductively. Michelangelo gets between her legs. He lifts her left leg and enters her with full speed. He then comes inside her and lies next to her while his head resting on Alex, whose face is turning the opposite side almost lifeless. Michelangelo elbows Alex in the head and kisses Amelia. She gets on top of him, and they kiss more passionately. Amelia then ride Michelangelo cowgirl style. They reach climax. Amelia gets up, puts on her clothes, and tells him not to hit the suspect anymore. Just to follow the law and book him. Michelangelo tells her he is not done with Alex and asks her to leave now. He doesn't want to see her for a while. Amelia curses him and leaves the warehouse saying, I have nothing to do with this. Michelangelo and John keep Alex in the warehouse naked without a food till he confesses. Victim number 8 is found in the public library with a goat. The words tiger in Chinese is written on her forehead. The killer attached a goat's horns on her head and glued its beard on her chin. The killer then opened her stomach and places its kidneys in the victim's belly. The forensics also find inside her vagina. Michelangelo and John might have a wrong man in the warehouse. However, Michelangelo thinks Alex could be working with the killer. He is not sure. It might be a mistaken identity or could be his brother. But Alex has no brother. Regardless, they just let Alex go free. In flashback, we see the killer for the first time. We don't see his face clearly. Yet he sits in front of a mirror. There is a photo of Alex on the table. The killer applies makeup on his face, puts a fake mustache, a sunglasses and blonde hairpiece, so he could look like Alex. Later, Michelangelo and John see the picture of Alex on front page of Boston Herald under the topic of police brutality. Capital Carter suspends both Michelangelo and John. Michelangelo thinks it's fucked up. It's stupid. They were just doing their jobs. They have to do what you have to do to catch the killer. It's politics. Meanwhile, Michelangelo finds out what happened. He didn't know Alex has a sister named Veronica who works at Boston Herald as a reporter. In flashback, Veronica saw Alex's chewed face, took few photographs, wrote an article about the incident and published the story. Michelangelo comes to Amelia and apologizes to her for everything. They make love and work on the case all night. She has a file that contains people who visited Chinese horoscope websites in Boston area. Amelia sorts it out from those who visited regularly, often, to those who checked once in a while, and come up with top 10 names. Even though Michelangelo is suspended, he and Amelia question the suspects one by one. Almost all of them are Asian. They then come to question a man named Richard. He tells them he is not Chinese Zodiac killer. Michelangelo asks him why Richard visited the horoscope website despite the fact Amelia told him not to mention it to them. It's a violation of their privacy. Michelangelo ignored her. He just wants answer. Richard tells him he visited the websites to write a book about the Chinese horoscope serial killer. Michelangelo says he has been visiting the websites before the killing started. Richard says it's coincident. He has always been interested in Chinese horoscope. Things happens for a reason. Michelangelo mocks him, are you being smart with me? Richard says it's the truth. Michelangelo doesn't believe him for a second. He calls John and tells him an asshole thinks he is the son of Jesus Christ. Some kind of bloodline atheists in Vatican City are talking about. He has fat cheeks. We're going for both of them. I might have to join you in this holy feast. He photographs Richard's photo with his cell phone and send it to John. Richard looks confused. He doesn't know what Michelangelo is talking about. Then Richard's 5-year-old daughter comes to the living room and says, Daddy, can I watch Clueless? Michelangelo tells John on the phone just never mind. He tells Richard they made mistake. Michelangelo and Amelia leave the house. Victim number 9 is found in the church. Her neck is tied to a male monkey with a large chain in S&M. The monkey is drugged. He is fucking the girl's dead body behind while screaming, scratching, and hitting. The killer also is showing the act on YouTube. Billion people watch it live in shock. FBI and the Boston police arrive at crime scene, stop the video, shoot the monkey with tranquilizer, and investigate the case. The girl is branded with yin and yang as usual and the word monkey in Chinese is written on her forehead. The monkey was given various sex pills. The forensic also finds human skull inside her belly. Capital Carter have few words with Michelangelo and John. He tells them not to fuck up anymore, lifts their suspension and assigns them back on the case. Meanwhile, Amelia and Special Agent Jones talk about the investigation. She tells him she is doing everything in her power to find the killer. I might have to keep it short. They will go out and investigate the case as usual. Victim number 10 is found in her house with a roster. The killer removes her clothes, sewed wings on her back, cuts her stomach and placed a chick in her belly. It's found alive. She is branded with yin and yang. The words roster in Chinese is written on her forehead. The killer also placed a hard-boiled egg inside her vagina. Michelangelo and Amelia investigate the case. So does John. He is brilliant at digging information even though he is portrayed as a mindless tug. Michelangelo relies on him. Yet, the killer is way ahead of them. Victim number 11 is found with a dog. The killer stripped her cloth nude, glues the entire fur of a dog on her body. She looks like a dog. He also removed her nose and placed the dog's nose on her face. She is branded with yin and yang. The word dog in Chinese is written on her forehead. The killer cut her stomach and placed a puppy inside her belly. John seems extremely disturbed by the sight. Michelangelo asks him if he is alright. John says he is fine. He's just got headache and leaves the crime scene. The forensics find a rib bone of a dog inside her vagina. Michelangelo and Amelia continue to investigate the case in vain. The killer has never left a single DNA. They have nothing on him. Later, John gets in a bar fight with University of Boston baseball team. He is drunk and beating up 10 students alone. Then a young man comes behind with a baseball bat and hits John on the right ankle hard. John goes down screaming. They begin to kick him while he was on the floor. Michelangelo and Amelia come to the bar. Amelia can't believe what she is looking at. Michelangelo punches 3 guys and knocks them out cold. He quickly puts his gun on the cheek of the 4th man and tells the rest of them to leave his friend alone. They walk away. Michelangelo and Amelia take John to hospital. The doctors fix his broken ankle. John has to use a cane to walk around. He gets intimate with a nurse named Sue, who has been taking care of him. She is a Chinese origin. Amelia comes to the hospital looking for Michelangelo and catches John and Sue making out. John introduces Amelia to Sue. Later, Michelangelo, Amelia, John and Sue sit at the cafeteria and have lunch conversing. Amelia looks into Sue's Facebook and sees a photo of a young man standing with a cane with a girl, who looks exactly like Sue. Amelia thinks it's odd and asks Sue who the man is out of pure curiosity. Sue tells her his name is Tim. He was her sister's boyfriend. That's Tina, her sister. They were twins. Tina was 5 months pregnant when a young woman named Amber stabbed her with a knife after mistaking her with Sue, which resulted in miscarriage. Amber was charged with attempted manslaughter, but found not guilty by reason of insanity. Chad, Amber's husband, was having an affair with Sue. Amber saw a sex video of Sue and her husband that Chad recorded with his cell phone and tried to kill Sue, but mistakenly ended up stabbing Tina. The ruling also might have been influenced by Amber's billionaire parents who made fortune in real estate and petroleum. Yet Tina was told she can't have a baby. Later, Tina committed suicide of sadness. Sue has never seen Tim again. Michelangelo and Amelia check Tim's record. He was a doctor at Harvard Medical School, but has been disappeared without a trace, just laying low. Michelangelo and Amelia put face on the potential suspect. However, Tim goes by various names. He has to complete his masterpiece. Michelangelo and Amelia think Amber might be his last target. They rush to her house. Tim has already killed her, and has put her in the bathtub that's placed in the middle of the living room at her multimillion-dollar mansion. The tub is filled with a pig blood and organs. Michelangelo and Amelia ring the bell. There is no answer. Michelangelo breaks the door. They enter the house, come to the living room and see the body of Amber in bathtub. Tim is sitting on a sofa nude while waiting for them to arrest him. Michelangelo points the gun at Tim's head. His finger is tightened on the trigger. He pulls the trigger and shoots Tim in the head at close range. Tim's blood splatters on his face. It was a thought. It didn't happen. Amelia slowly approaches Michelangelo, takes the gun from his hand and cuffs Tim. FBI and Boston police arrive at the crime scene and takes the killer away. Amber is branded with yin and yang. The word pig in Chinese is written on her forehead. Tim placed a baby pig in Amber's belly. The forensics also find pig's heart in Amber's vagina. The prosecutors think Tim is insane. However, they say he will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Later, Michelangelo and Amelia sit at a blues bar in South Boston and have scotches. Michelangelo then gives Amelia his hand and asks her to dance. She takes his hand. They come to the dance floor and dance slow. They kiss intimately. The end. Emma, that's a fascinating story. Chris, I might have to change the ending and make it more dramatic. I am still working on it. It's some kind of trilogy that formed in the subconscious mind without my knowledge, along with Zodiac Killing starring Alicia Vikander and Divinity starring Jennifer Lawrence. Wait, I might have an idea for HBO. The periodic table killer under the title of Chemical Romance. A billionaire serial killer who sleeps with beautiful models and kills them using the chemical elements in the periodic table and brands them with atomic numbers and chemical symbols. You know, there are 118 chemical elements. Some of them are radioactive and can only be produced in a particle accelerator, a machine that collides particles close to the speed of light. I had someone like Christian Bale in mind, not an American Psycho but Batman. Imagine instead of going out in the night and saving people and fight crime, he sleeps with some of the most beautiful women in the world, kills them gracefully using the elements, brands them with chemical symbol and atomic number and leaves roses at the crime scene. A rookie FBI agent named Amelia is assigned to investigate the case. Yet Bruce seduces her and takes her to the bed pretending to be helping her solve the crime. You know, she involves with the killer in a passionate sexual affair. Bruce actually helps FBI capturing some of the most notorious serial killers in North America. However, he has to complete his masterpiece by all means necessary. He made fortune in various software business and social media marketing in Silicon Valley. Some of the elements are rare and very expensive to acquire. He needs a lot of resource and connection. Bruce might even design his own particle accelerator secretly. He also gets his hand on the designing and manufacturing of one of the first cars that fly in the air and makes a lot of money. But Bruce gets a kick out of making love to beautiful girls and killing them artistically. He is young and charismatic. Bruce owns a couple of fashion magazines as well. It's easy for him to lure a girl to bed. Models throw themselves at him like their underwear literally. Sometimes, Bruce sleeps with 3 or 4 supermodels at the same time. He is into S&M as well. He likes to throw all kinds of erotic sex parties and involves with various attractive girls in S&M, BDSM, bandage and sex slaves and a lot of alcohols and drugs. I just saw Kill Your Friends few days ago starring Nicholas Holtz. The movie is alright. But I thought his performance was excellent. Maybe he can play Bruce. I will leave it to HBO writers. It'd make a seductive murder mystery television series. You know, suppose Bruce sleeps with 3 women and kills 3 per show. That is almost 40 episodes. I do not know how many episodes they show per season. Let's say it's 10. They can wrap it up in 4 seasons. Emma, it sounds interesting. Why don't you pitch it to HBO and write the story yourself? Chris, I don't really watch television. I mean, I don't have the patience. I didn't even watch 1 episode of the Game of Thrones. Emma, I did television. It's fun. Chris, I'd rather write 40 feature films than spend 4 seasons inside a psychopath's mind. You know, I like to mix it up: romance, comedy, murder mystery, action, and drama. Emma, they can't offer you. Chris smiles softly. Chris, anyhow, let me go back to killing me softly. Something is bothering me. The movie is inspired by Memories of Murder. You know, in Memories of Murder, they didn't find the killer. No motive or anything. They don't know who he is. The killer has no face. He gets away with it. You know, it's hard to sell that to American audiences. They want some sort of explanation, if it's not motive. They want to see some kind of justice. I might have to change the ending and add more suspense. In alternative ending, Michelangelo and Amelia come to Amber's house and ring the bell. Tim hasn't done with Amber yet. He has already killed her. But he's in the middle of placing her body in a bathtub. He's nude and filling the tub with pig blood and organs. We might even go back and see him in action. You know, placing a baby pig in Amber's stomach, and sewing her belly back like a doctor in cocaine while she's lying on a medical table. Branding her with yin and yang, placing a pig heart in her vagina, etc. He does most of the work at his warehouse. They might even discover the warehouse first. It depends on the flow. In Memories of Murder, they don't show you the face of the killer. He appears less than 3 minutes. Maybe more. Nevertheless, Michelangelo just breaks the door. He and Amelia enter the house drawing their guns. They are confronted by Tim. He fires at them. Michelangelo and Amelia fire at him back. They exchange shootouts. Tim hasn't placed Amber in the bathtub yet. Her nude body is lying on the floor. He drags her body down the floor to put her in a bathtub, which is placed in the middle of the living room as he continues to exchange fire with Michelangelo and Amelia. He then puts Amber's dead body in the bathtub and points his gun on his head. Michelangelo and Amelia come out of the hiding and tell him to put down the gun. Tim cocks the gun to blow up his own brain. Amelia slowly puts her gun down on the floor and tells Tim not to do it. They are there to help him. However, Michelangelo aims his gun at Tim, and tells him, "Go ahead, motherfucker. Pull the fucking trigger. I can't wait to see your motherfucker brain explode into a million pieces like a rotten tomato. I will have spaghetti every time I have post-traumatic stress. Just save me the fucking trouble." Tim changes his mind, laughs in hysteria and sets to fire at Amelia. Michelangelo shoots Tim between his eyes and kills him. Emma, that sounds fun. But Tim tricks Michelangelo into suicide by cop. He wouldn't have shot Amelia, cause it would have messed up his work of Chinese horoscope murder. Seductive Pain, Part 23. Chris, I didn't look at in terms of suicide by cop. I was just trying to put a finishing touch. Maybe I have another alternative ending. Suppose Tim has planned this for a while. You know, he raped Amber and held her hostage for 9 months. She gives birth to Tim's baby girl right in front of us. He takes the baby. He then kills Amber, dices her and places a baby pig inside Amber's body, like I just mentioned it. But he does it at her house while we are watching in shock. Tim then puts Amber's body in a tub and fills it with the pig's organs. When Michelangelo and Amelia show up, they find Tim sitting in a sofa naked covered with blood. He is holding the baby. Michelangelo and Amelia point the gun at him. However, Amelia slowly places the gun on the floor, approaches Tim and takes the baby from his hand kindly. Mother instinct takes over. She begins to cradle the baby. Michelangelo doesn't want to shout at Tim to get down on the floor and all. It might scare the little princess. She looks breathtaking. Instead, he tells Tim nicely, get down on the floor, motherfucker. Amelia gives him a look on motherfucker. Michelangelo slowly tells her the baby does not know what motherfucker means. He asks Tim to get down on the floor again. Tim ignores him. He remains seated. Get the fuck down on the floor, dickhead. Michelangelo says louder. Tim continues to ignore him. Amelia doesn't trust Michelangelo. She slowly places the baby on the sofa, removes her FBI jacket and wraps the baby with the coat. She slowly approaches Tim, reads him his right and cuffs him. FBI and Boston police arrive at the crime scene and take Tim away. The state places the baby for adaptation. Michelangelo and Amelia adapt the baby. A year later, they celebrate her birthday at their new house in the beach. They kiss French. The end. Emma, that's tear-jerking. Chris, what about Tim produces a knife out of nowhere, holds it on Amelia's neck, and threatens to cut her throat to Kingdom Comes as she is about to cuff him. Michelangelo then shoots him between his eyes and kills him. Emma, I don't like that ending. You should go for the previous ending with adaptation. Chris, I don't want people to say Tim gets away with it. He is a psychopath. You know, I want to give the film a climatic ending like Seven. But it's up to Leo. I will figure it out. I wrote it with Leonardo and Tom Hardy in mind, and you in female starring role. Emma, let's go to Leo's house. He lives few blocks down by my old house in Malibu. I have said hi to him a couple of times, but we have never properly introduced to each other. Chris, sure. Emma drinks her wine, gets up, starts the boat and rides down the ocean. On the soundtrack, music plays. EXT Leonardo's house, day. Chris and Emma come to the door. Emma rings the bell. Leo opens the door. They all greet. We don't hear what they are saying due to the music on soundtrack. They enter the house. Int. Leonardo's house living room, day. They come to the living room. The music on the soundtrack falls in the background and plays softly. On the television, The Touch of Evil is shown. Leo, make yourself home. I will be right back. Leo goes upstairs. Chris and Emma sit at the coffee table. Emma, what's this movie? Chris, The Touch of Evil. Emma, is it any good? Chris, it's classic. Emma gets up and walks up to Leonardo's private bar. She grabs a bottle of whiskey and pours the liquor in 2 separate glasses as if she has been there a million times. She returns to Chris, gives him a drink and sits next to him. Leo returns to the living room with the Maltese Falcon. Leo, have you seen the Maltese Falcon? Chris nods yes. Chris, long time ago. Leo, what do you think? Chris, it's good. Leo, I am thinking about writing my first professional screenplay based on the Maltese Falcon. You know, modern version of film noir. But I don't like the bird. You can convince yourself the bird is the stuff that dreams are made of. But you cannot convince Havoc Mayhem Wrecking Generation the bird can fly like Superman and shoot laser from his eyes. Or he is the black dude in The Avenger, who plays Falcon. What's his name? Emma, Anthony Mackie. Leo, that's right. Anthony. They will just walk away from the theater unless the bird raps like Kanye West. He then get caught up in the drive-by shooting in the Marvel Comics and rise from the dead like the Crow, make love to Lupita and take revenge on those who killed him in the first place. You know, they are looking at a dead bird. I don't think they even fall for Darth Vader anymore. What do you suggest? Emma remembers what Chris told her earlier in Sexgeist. Emma, I would go with a necklace. But the Maltese Falcon is one of the most overrated film noirs of all time. Leo, what do you know about film noir? Emma, it's one of my favorite genres. Maybe I might have exaggerated a little bit when I say it's the most overrated film noirs of all time. Maybe the film feels like set in a theater. But it has potential. Chris can build you a story in a heartbeat. Leo, that's why I ask him to come in among other things. To Chris, The Touch of Pure Evil has already got green light. I have already told myself I would do 3 movies this years. Maybe 4. I am not getting any younger. Killing Me Softly, Babe, Touch of Pure Evil, either Extraction or something new, which are written or adapted by you, and couple of projects that I signed for, including The Devil in the White City, a story of H. Holmes, the first documented serial killer. Marty is directing it. I had a feeling he's going to fuck it up. You know, I told them to focus on Holmes, but they intertwined it with Daniel H. Burnham, the architect who built World's Columbian Exposition in Chicago. I read the first draft. It made no sense. I told them to get rid of Daniel Burnham and rewrite it from scratch. You know, just gather information on H. Holmes since he was a kid. The motherfucker killed 200 people. It doesn't matter if it's fiction or fact. I want everything that's written on him. You know, Holmes was not only a serial killer, but he was also a successful con artist, scamming insurance money and marrying 3-4 wives and taking them for a ride. I want the movie to be shot Gothic style. You know, I want the devil himself in the spotlight. In the meantime, I might have to pass on Extraction. I talked to Christopher Nolan. He likes the idea of just extraction information, how you write it. That's one of the best heist films I have ever read. But I felt it would eat up my time. I don't want to travel around the world and kill people as if they were cockroaches, and then find out it was a dream. Don't get me wrong. I love action movies sometime. But it can wait. You know, I want to be one place here in Los Angeles and focus on writing. I read few novels. There are a couple of good stories out there, but they deal with a lot of drama. I am looking for mystery. Leo walks to his video collection and grab A Lonely Place starring Humphrey Bogart and Gloria Graham. Leo, what do you think of this film? Emma, I was born when you kissed me. I died when you left me. I lived a few weeks while you loved me. I think it's better than the Maltese Falcon. I have always valued human emotion over treasure or physical objects for some reason, but don't ask me why. Leo, I feel the same. But we don't want soap opera in the mix. We have to focus on mystery. The film is almost flawless, but it can be improved. To Chris, have you seen it? Chris, a while ago. Leo, what do you think? Chris, it's not bad. Leo, there is a scene that caught my attention while I was watching it few days ago. Martha, played by Ruth Gillette, gives Laura, played by Gloria, a message. Laura says, "You are hurting me." Martha kinds of remind me the German girl in Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Basterds at the bar in the basement, not Diane Kruger but the other muscular girl. I worked with QT in Django Unchained. Anyhow, the girl held her fellow Nazi's head in a judo chokehold. It's part of the game. In A Lonely Place, for a second, I thought Laura and Martha killed Mildred Atkinson. You know, Laura saw Dix with Mildred. She got jealous and sent Martha to get rid of Mildred Atkinson. Marta asked her to get in the car, killed her like Dix explained to Brub Nikolai and his wife Sylvia. You put your right arm around her neck. You get to a lonely place in the road and you begin to squeeze. You're an ex-GI. You know judo. You know how to kill a person without using your hands. You're driving the car and you're strangling her. You don't see her bulging eyes or her protruding tongue. Go ahead, Brub, squeeze harder. You love her, and she's deceived you. You hate her patronizing attitude. She looks down on you. She's impressed with celebrities. She wants to get rid of you. Squeeze harder. Harder. Squeeze harder. It's wonderful to feel her throat crush under your arm. Now, are you convinced? Martha then threw her out of the car. She does Laura's dirty job. So these two girls go around, kill rich folks and rob them blind. Perhaps, Martha's son who goes to UCLA might have involved in the murder. But that's just Dix's theory. It's not a fact. Dix loves Laura but he can't trust her. He thinks she is a femme fatale. In the meantime, Dix is also a suspect. He is unpredictable. He might be diagnosed with split personality. The movie is based on a novel from the same named, In a Lonely Place, by Dorothy Hughes. In the novel, Dix helps the cops solving the case of a serial killer. Yet, they find out he is a killer. Two different stories. Laura tells Dix jokingly she will poison and kill him if he continues to act like a fool. Dix starts cooking his own meals. Whenever she gives him tea or coffee or whiskeys, he just pretends to be drinking, and when she turns around, he spills them away. Note, if it's convenient, we might see Emma in the female lead role and Leonardo in the male lead role. Leo, in the film, Dix is innocent. However, in the story that I am trying to create, Dix could have exited through the back door and asked Mildred Atkinson to take her home. She got in his car. Dix then killed her, so he could snap out of his writing block and write about the murder. He is a method writer. Yet, that's just Laura's theory. She loves him, but she can't trust him either. They keep us guessing one of them might be responsible for the death of Mildred Atkinson. Or they both could be innocent. We tone it down the unnecessary emotional outburst, jealousy, and obsession, and replace it with suspense and the game of seduction and murder mystery. Dix thinks Laura is B-movie star direct-to-video. She wants to graduate. Dix is the man who can make her famous and take her to the promised land whatever it is. He is afraid of her, but at same time, he wants to play game. Dix started writing about him being the main suspect, psychopathic serial killer, for the thrill of it, so he could get into Laura's head and see what she is made of. It could be a script or a novel. I haven't made up my mind. I am creating the story as I go. But let's stick with the screenplay for now. In his script, Dix says he could have killed Mildred Atkinson through his split personality. The police can't prove anything, so he can toy with her motion. Laura is a suspect as well. Dix portraits her as a deadly femme fatale in the screenplay, digging her past, fabricating false stories and placing Martha at the crime scene. Laura reads his screenplay that he is working on. She got tempted to play game based on Dix's creation and makes him think she could be the actual killer. Laura even tells Dix she might have drugged Mildred Atkinson and broken her neck to make it look like only a man could have done it. Surprisingly, Laura is right. Mildred Atkinson was drugged. The forensic report shows she died of nerve gas. Then the killer broke her neck to make it look like strangulation. I don't like the idea of one-hand judo chokehold to kill Mildred Atkinson, you know, how they described it in A Lonely Place. It is one dimension. Only a strong man, who has militarily background, could have done it. Humorously, I wouldn't kill a woman even with my both hands. I might have to rewrite it from the scratch to get the whole concept in my head and add few twists. I like the idea of death either by poison applied on handkerchief or lethal injection with a syringe. Meanwhile, the cops have two suspects. However, they think Dix is not that stupid to write a story about killing a woman after he murdered one. He is just playing insane. Captain Lochner asks Brub what about Laura? The captain thinks there is a motive. Laura thought Mildred Atkinson might be Dix's lover and decided to get rid of her, so she could be with him. It's a true Hollywood story. Brub says he doubts it. He also thinks Dix is innocent too. Meanwhile, Dix makes sure Laura read the final draft of the screenplay and writes how he is going to kill her and complete his perfect murder. Laura reads it and begins to be afraid of Dix. They have a fight. He grabs a knife, threatens to cut her throat and drinks her blood like a vampire, who hasn't seen daylight for 5,000 years. She grabs a gun and tells him to drop the knife or she will shoot him. He tells her go ahead and make my fucking day. It's you who wants to play a game. He continues to approach her with the knife. Only one of us will live at the end of the night. Laura shoots him in the left arm. Dix is crazy. He tells Laura it's only a little flesh wound. Dix removes his shirt, points at his heart with the knife like killing me softly that you wrote, and tells Laura to shoot him in the heart. She loves him. And couldn't bring herself into killing him. Meanwhile, neighbors call police. They both got arrested. The cops find out the Mildred's boyfriend, Henry Kesleris, is the killer. He confessed to Mildred's murder. They sent Dix and Laura home free. They share a taxi, forgive each other and kiss in the cab. The end. Emma, that's an amazing story. It sounds better than the original. Leo, I just made it up right now as I went. I don't know what it's about yet. We'll watch it again and rewrite a new story from scratch. But wait. Leonardo goes to his video collection and grabs A Long Goodbye and Farewell, My Lovely and typed out papers nearby. Leo, A Long Goodbye starring Elliot Gould and Nina Van Paland and Farewell, My Lovely starring Robert Mitchum and Charlotte Rampling. Philip Marlowe films created by Raymond Chandler. I got a couple of them in there including Big Sleep starring Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall. I want to make Philip Marlowe the American James Bond. I am thinking about turning my production company Appianway into a studio like Paramount, 20th Century Fox and Universal Pictures. I might need you to write me a couple of hits. I am planning on releasing at least 25 movies per year. Nevertheless, I brought these two films The Long Goodbye and Farewell, My Lovely for the sole purpose of learning how to write a good script. Have you seen them? Chris, long time ago. I know the stories. I am a big fan of Raymond Chandler works. Leo, it's good enough. I want to work on the first one. If it's a hit, we are going to make Philip Marlowe film every year or two whenever there is a talk about Columbia Pictures and MGM are making James Bond. Some kind of counterattack. Nevertheless, we don't have to wait for 007. I want to combine these two movies The Long Goodbye and Farewell, My Lovely and write a screenplay. Barely reading. He has memorized the story in his head. Private investigator Philip Marlowe gets up in the middle of the night to feed his dog. He is working on a case, investigating the murder of a client named Charles who was a victim of blackmail and a stolen necklace made of pink diamond for his novel. That night, Marlowe is contacted by his friend Terry Lennox, a movie star. He asks him to give him ride to Tijuana. He agrees to do so as long as Lennox doesn't tell him anything about why he is going to Tijuana. Later, two police detectives, Evan and Dalton, visit Marlowe. They take him to downtown for questioning. He's accused of helping Lennox murder his rich wife Sylvia. Marlowe refuses to talk about it without the presence of his lawyer. They keep him in jail. His lawyer Jason bails him out $100,000. Marlowe is not supposed to leave the town and has to appear before a judge in 40 days for accessory of murder. Marlowe is hired by a gangster named Moose Matthew to find his girlfriend Velma, whom stole $10 million from his safe cabinet while he was serving time in prison for 5 years. Marlowe tracks down her lover, John, and asks him where she is. He tells him Velma is dead. Marlowe then gets a call from a woman named Jessica, who tells him she knows where Velma is hiding and asks him to meet her in a coffee shop somewhere in the desert. He meets her. Jessica tells him to do him a favor first to deliver a ransom payment for stolen diamonds. She will then tell him where Velma is. Marlowe doesn't believe her. He wants Jessica to tell him the truth. She says they are going to blackmail her to her husband. They recorded her having sex with 2 African American men. She didn't know it was a setup. Note, if it's convenient, we might see Leo in the lead part as he continues to tell us the story, and Emma in the female starring role. Leo, Marlowe agrees to help her. It's dark. Marlowe waits in his convertible in the middle of the desert with the ransom money. He falls asleep while waiting. When he opens his eyes, he is hit on the head unconscious by unknown man. Later, when Marlowe regains consciousness, he finds Jessica's nude dead body in the passenger seat. The ransom money is in his car sprinkled on her body. Marlowe buries the body in the desert, puts the money in the bag and comes to his home. He is visited by the same 2 cops, Evan and Dalton. They tell him not to worry about Lennox. He committed suicide in Mexico. The case is closed. But Marlowe doesn't buy it. Later, Marlowe is hired by Eileen Wade to find her sister Vanessa, who is into clubbing and drugs. She disappeared from her Malibu house. Eileen doesn't want to report her missing. She thinks she just ran away to do drugs. Marlowe finds Vanessa at a famous club rated NC-17 in LA known for heavy use of drugs, but he gets caught up with Sophia, the ex-girlfriend of Alex, the son of a Russian mob, whom he photographs cheating. Alex marked her cheek with X. She is beautiful but has a bad scar. She is at the club with a gun to kill Alex, who is sitting with 4 attractive Russian models. Marlowe apologizes to Sophia and tries to talk Sophia out of it. Instead she points a gun at Marlowe. But he easily takes the gun out of her hand and kisses her lips passionately. He takes her outside and makes love to her on the hood of his car. Marlowe then calls a taxi and sends her home. Yet Marlowe loses a track of Vanessa. He knows where she might be. Vanessa is staying with a drug addict musician named Carson. Marlowe comes to Carson's house in the middle of the night, breaks in and sees Vanessa sleeping in the bathtub without a single drop of cloth high. He covers her with his coat and carries her toward the exit. Out of nowhere comes Carson and pointed a gun at Marlowe's head at the living room and tells him to put her down or he will splatter his brain. Marlowe places her on the sofa, tells Carson to be cool, and in flash grabs Carson's hand, pulls his hair, takes the gun out of his hand and slams him against a glass coffee table and knocks him unconscious. Marlowe carries Vanessa out of the house, places her in his car and takes her home. Eileen writes him a check for $10,000. In the meantime, Marlowe suspects Eileen knew Lennox and there is a story behind Terry's suicide and the murder of Sylvia. Marlowe then approached by a gangster named Marty Augustine, who wants money returned that Lennox owed him. He is a mean son of a bitch. Augustine headbutts his sweetheart in the face, breaking her nose to show him what could happen to Marlowe if he double-crosses him or refuses to do what he tells him. Augustine says, "That's someone I love with all my heart and soul. I don't even give a fuck if you die at this second and burn in hell for eternity." Marlowe goes to Mexico and gather facts of Lennox's death. He returns to Eileen's house and have few words with her about Lennox. Marlowe asks her if she knows him. She tells him she doesn't know him. Marlowe and Eileen have sex. They do cocaine after sex. Eileen then confesses to Marlowe that Vanessa was having an affair with Lennox. She might have killed Sylvia in jealousy after he told her he didn't want to see her anymore. But Eileen makes him promise not to tell the police about it. Vanessa is her sister. She loves her to death. Marlowe contacts Augustine to tell him Lennox is dead. But Augustine tells him not to worry about it. His missing money has been returned mysteriously. Marlowe thinks it's weird. He is then approached by Moose Matthew, who asks him where Velma is. He tells him he is looking into it. Later, Marlowe sees Vanessa walking in the street alone and asks her where she's going. She tells him to see a girl named Nicole. She is going work. She is her boss. Marlowe gives her a ride. Meanwhile, Marlowe finds out Nicole Jones is a widow, the young wife of a wealthy and influential music producer named Robert Jones who died of heart attack unexpectedly. Marlowe comes to see her sing. She is a beautiful blonde whom Mr. Jones met when she was singing at a club that he owns. They got married. He left her the club in his will. Vanessa sings there as well. Nicole seduces Marlowe. They have sex. Nicole takes a shower. Marlowe looks through her stuff and sees the photo of Jessica by accident. He suspects Nicole is into blackmailing wealthy people. Marlowe asks her if she knows Jessica. Nicole thinks about lying. She then sees the photo album that Marlowe had been looking at nearby. Nicole chooses to tell him what he wants to hear. She pours whiskey into 2 separate glasses. She gives Marlowe a liquor. Marlowe takes a sip. Nicole says Jessica is a friend. She doesn't know where she is and hires Marlowe to find her. Marlowe tells her Jessica is dead. He buried her in the desert and accuses Nicole she has something to do with Jessica's death. Yet before he confronts her farther, Marlowe feels dizzy and falls unconscious. Nicole has placed poison in his drink. Later, when Marlowe regains conscious, he finds himself in the suspect transport enclosure of a police car driven by 2 corrupted cops, Peter and Dante. They knock him unconscious and lock him up in a private hospital run by a drug dealer named Dr. Pain. It's hell figuratively speaking. It looks like a mental institution for rich and famous. Dr. Pain keeps Marlowe obedient with drug injections. Marlowe then pretends to be sick, injects Dr. Pain in the neck with the same drug, escapes from the institution and comes to Nicole's club to confront her. Marlowe tells Nicole he knows she is Velma. She has Jessica killed, so she wouldn't expose her real identity. Velma produces a gun out of nowhere and points it at Marlowe, but she can't pull the trigger. She is attracted to him. Velma tells him she loves him and doesn't want to return to Matthew. She agrees to return the money she took from him, and spends the rest of her life with Marlowe. They kiss passionately. Matthew walks in with a gun, and interrupts them. He tells Velma he needs her back. He has forgiven her for everything, and wants a family with her. Velma tells him she doesn't want to see him. She shoots Matthew in the heart and kills him. Velma flees the scene. However, FBI officials track her down in Miami and arrest her. Later, Marlowe has few drinks at a blues house, leaves the bar and takes a walk in the street of Santa Monica. He then sees Eileen driving by. However, he couldn't catch up with her. Marlowe takes another trip to Mexico, bribes few corrupted officials to tell him Terry's whereabouts. He knows they faked Terry's apparent suicide. They tell him he is alive and hiding somewhere in Mexican but they don't know where it's. Marlowe tracks down Terry in Cabo San Lucas through a poster that he remembers seeing at Eileen's house. Marlowe recognizes him despite the fact the plastic surgery procedure that Terry had. Marlowe follows him around to make sure what he is up to, later comes to Terry's villa and confronts him. Terry, who is fixing his multimillion-dollar motorboat, confesses to killing of Sylvia but it was an accident. He tells Marlowe he was having an affair with Eileen, and Sylvia found out about it. They had a fight. She began to hit him in mania and poked his eye with her nail. In frustration, he pushed her violently. Her head hit the edge of the fireplace and she died on the spot. When Marlowe is about to turn around and leave, Terry opens a compact glove of his boat, grabs a gun and sets to fire at him. Yet, Marlowe quickly produces a small gun from his sleeve like Travis Bickle in Taxi Driver, shoots Terry between his eyes, kills him and walks away. Then minutes later, Marlowe sees Eileen, who is driving a convertible on her way to meeting Terry. He gives her a wink, lights a cigarette and continues to walk down the street while smoking. The end. To Chris, what do you think of it? Chris, it's pretty good. Leo, what about you? Emma, what is your opinion? Emma, it is one of the best neo-film noirs I have ever heard. Leo, once I get this out, we then write a couple of original detective stories and make a killing. Actually, I am not interested in making money. I am interested about the quality of the work. By the way, why do you think about my new movie The Revenant? Chris, I didn't get the chance to see it. I only saw previews online here and there. Emma, I saw it. I thought it was okay. Leo, I got nominated for Oscar. Do you think I am going to win? Emma, I don't know who are the nominees. I won't lie to you. That's one of the most painful movies I have ever seen for a while. No doubt you gave an amazing performance. But there is no dialogue. 95% of the time, you were clawing on the ground or hiding or running. After you went through hell, they finally rescued you. Instead of resting, I thought you were going to sit for few days, heal from your wounds, take your time and track down the man, Tom Hardy, who killed your son, but you just got up and said you were going to kill the son of bitch and went after him. My friend said that was stupid. I didn't look at in term of fiction. I found myself in the film and thinking what if you ran into those mean Native Americans? Is revenge worth of sacrificing your life? I don't know. Revenge isn't my favorite genre. It lacks complexity. Maybe not. It depends on the story. But I can think 10 revenge movies in 1 minute. A man kills your son. You avenge it by killing the man. An outlaw kills your brother. You kill him in revenge like once upon a time in the West. Gangsters kill your mother. You kill all of them without mercy. A man kills your dog. You kill his bitch. You get the point. Eye for an eye is a classic format. It has worked since the invention of motion picture. Of course, you build plots around them. But don't feel bad. I think you gave everything you had. It is one of the best films of the year despite the fact we are living in the cutting edge of computer and information technology where YouTube, Facebook, internet, and music videos shape our lives and change cultures. However, The Revenant takes us in the early 18th century. It deals with the will to live and basic survival instinct in the face of adversity. That is the best thing about motion picture, time is irrelevant. I am not going to talk about love scene. There is none. However, when you talk about Academy Award, you don't really have to bring Robert De Niro losing 60 pounds and going method or Heath Ledger transforming himself into a total psychopath without a sense of purpose. Or Daniel Day-Lewis just getting lost in his characters as if he were possessed by the devil himself in There Will Be Blood. But you might want to ask yourself one simple question. Could any of the actors that are working in Hollywood have done what I did better than me? If the answer is no, you may deserve the award depend on the strength of performances given by the nominees that you are going against. If the answer is yes, you might want to do soul searching and work on a film that could place you on the history book of the greatest performances by actors of all time. Leo, that's one of best critics I have ever received. Jean-Claude Van Damme could have done some of the stunts, especially sleeping inside the horse. Jim Carrey did it in Ace Ventura. Why not give him Oscar? But I won't lie to you, I went hell doing that film. It's one of the most exhausting movies I have ever done physically and emotionally. I am proud of it. But fuck Oscar. I just want to do a couple of films that send chills down by audiences' spines and put them in their darkest state of minds. To Chris, I looked at your website and saw Lost Angel. It's a little bit similar to Killing Me Softly. But I like the setting. It is in my hometown Los Angeles. A private detective searches for a missing girl and finds more than he is looking for. It says under construction. Leo, I printed it out. Let me read it to her. I am impressed by what she just said to me. We all sit and work on it together. This is the best stuff I have ever read for a while. In 2002, a 14-year-old girl named Diana disappears without a trace in the City of Angels. The suspect is a 19-year-old boy named Ethan who videotaped the girl nude performing oral sex on him. There is no evidence against him except the videotape. Before the DA brings charge against him, his rich parents send him to England for study. 10 years later, a man named Patrick confesses for the killing of 36 high school teenagers after he raped them including Diana. FBI recover 5 bodies in his beach house buried Indiana the sand. He said he fed the rest of them to sharks. LAPD close the case. Ethan returns to USA and begins to work at his father's software business writing program. Marta, Diana's aunt, hires a private detective named Michelangelo played by Leonardo DiCaprio, I am going to assume it is me, to investigate the case. Marta says Patrick didn't kill Diana. She was with him that day. Marta didn't tell the cops, because she doesn't want her husband to find out about the affair. Ethan might have something to do with her death. Michelangelo takes the case and begins to investigate from scratch. He looks at the evidence the cops collect. They didn't bother to touch it. The file had been neglected. Actually, it was labeled as cold case. Nobody had looked at it. Michelangelo does not have anything to work with. According to police reports, Diana's mother, Melanie, and her father, Edward, are divorced. They separate when Diana was 10. Her father moved out. Diana was living with her mother at the time of disappearance. The house that she was living is located a mile away from the school. Diana had usually walked home with a girl named Amanda, her best friend. That day, Diana went alone and didn't return home. Ethan said he was at the movie theater watching Murder by Numbers starring Sandra Bullock. Michelangelo comes to Ethan's office to ask him a couple of questions. Michelangelo knows Ethan lied about watching movie at the theater and asks him where he was that day. Ethan tells him he don't have to talk to him. First, he's innocent. Second, the case is closed. Third, Michelangelo is not a cop. Ethan says to leave him alone. Michelangelo says he just wants to solve the crime. If Ethan is innocent, he has nothing to worry about. Seductive Pain, Part 24. Michelangelo and Ethan sit at the strip club and talk about what happened that day. Ethan tells him he made a mistake 10 years ago. He was like every other kid who is curious about sex. Ethan videotaped the sex to show it to his friends. He did not know any better. He just thought it was a cool thing to do. Then when Diana disappeared, everybody assumed Ethan must have killed her. Michelangelo asks him where he was that day after 4 p.m. Ethan tells him he was at home with Amanda. They had sex. Ethan took her virginity as well while recording it. It was consensual. But since Amanda just turned 14, Ethan was 19. He burnt the video. It would have cleared his name right away, but at the same time it could have made him look like a pedophile. 5 years age different might not be a big deal when you are adult, but when you are teenage, it attracted a lot of attention, especially when a girl disappears in thin air. However, that is his past. He is a changed man now. In London, he studies criminology at the University of Oxford. So one day he would return to the USA and clear his name despite the fact he was only suspect. Ethan has been working on the case and believes Patrick didn't kill Diana either. He gave false testimony. He saw Diana that day right before she disappears around 6 a.m. opposite to 4 o'clock to 5 a.m., which was a testimony given by Patrick falsely. Michelangelo asks Ethan, is it possible she might have run away? Ethan says it's possible but less likely. Diana would have contacted him if she had run away. She was in love with him. Michelangelo asks him so she could be murdered. It is possible. However, Ethan will help him financially if Michelangelo allows him to investigate the case as his partner. They could use his hacking skill and criminology degree to their advantage. Ethan writes him a check for $50,000. This might take care of gas. I can start in the morning. We will ask few sex offenders in area and hear what they have to say. Michelangelo comes home and studies the file all night. In the morning, Ethan comes to pick him up with a new 2015 Ford Crown Victoria. It has all kinds of police monitoring devices. However, Michelangelo tells Ethan they'll take his convertible. Ethan says he has the list of all sex offenders in Los Angeles. Michelangelo asks him, how did you get it? Ethan admits hacking the file from LAPD database. Some of them are asked by LAPD, 10 years ago, and deny any involvement. Others are never been questioned. They begin to question them one by one. Some of them are hostile. Others cooperate without causing too much trouble. They then asks a sex offender named Luke, who was in the area 10 years ago. Luke says he saw Diana that day. She gave him a sweet smile. Then a voice in his head told him to hurt her. But Luke didn't want to hurt her. He just wanted to have sex with her. They ask him what he did to her. Luke said, I didn't do anything to her. I just thought about her beautiful face and masturbated in the wood. Michelangelo asks him why he didn't tell this to the police 10 years ago. Luke said he lied to them, he just told them he was taking a nap in his car. They looked at his car and found no DNA of anything. Michelangelo asks him a trick question, do you know where she might be by any chance? Luke sarcastically tells him she is in hell freezing. I had a vision of her. She has wings. The devil is fucking an angel of God. Michelangelo thinks he is crazy. He chooses to ignore him. Ethan has a weird feeling, but it's his first investigation and lets it go as well. Michelangelo and Ethan come to Diana's mother house, Melanie, in Beverly Hills. Michelangelo tells Ethan to wait in the car. He asks Melanie few questions about her daughter. She tells him everything she knows. Michelangelo then asks her permission to look around, and if there is a diary that Diana might have kept. Melanie tells him Diana wasn't fond of diaries. She enjoyed recording video and being recorded. Diana had always wanted to be a movie star. However, Melanie gave all the videos to LAPD, and they didn't return them back to her. Michelangelo comes to LAPD headquarters in downtown and asks Lieutenant Robert to see the videos. They are friends. Robert gives him the videos. Michelangelo looks at the videos and something changes in him forever. Diana is mature beyond her age. She is like Lolita. She sings, dances sensually and talks like adults. She has a keen sense of fashion. She talks about various sexual fantasies, including having sex with her father. Diana said she has seen him naked and thought he was sexy. Michelangelo questions her father. Edward tells him he doesn't want to talk about it, and asks Michelangelo to leave her alone, let her soul rest in peace. Edward thinks she is dead. Michelangelo then has few words with Agent Mia of FBI, his ex-girlfriend, to help him with the case. Mia gives Michelangelo a classified file that has names of well-known sex predators. Most of them are not listed in crime database. They are government employee connected deep in the system. Michelangelo takes the file and begins to leave the building. He then bumps into a beautiful agent named Emilia, played by Emma. I am assuming it's you. Emma doesn't say anything. She just looks at Chris. He gives her a wink. She smiles in beauty. Notes, we might see the movie Leonardo in the male lead role and Emma in the female lead role. Leo, it was instant attraction. Michelangelo apologizes and asks her out dinner. Emilia tells him she has a boyfriend. Michelangelo gives her his card and tell her to give him a call in case FBI needs someone to do their dirty works. They go to their separate ways. Michelangelo and Ethan come to Mrs. Fitzgerald's house at Manhattan Beach to ask her son, Paul Fitzgerald, few questions. He is son of the former governor, James Fitzgerald, who died recently due to heart complication. Paul was suspected for human hematophagy, He killed 3 college students and drank their blood. However, due to his family influence, he has escaped justice. Mrs. Fitzgerald says he hasn't spoken to Paul for 5 years. He only sent her one postcard. Michelangelo and Ethan track Paul down at an abandoned building that he owns through the postcard, which he sent to his mother 4 years ago. They knock the door. There is no answer. They break in and find nude bodies of women, about 23, hanging upside down. Some of them are dead long time ago. Their bodies are dry. Some of them are killed recently. Their blood are dropping down from cuts in their neck and falling on containers. It is heinous. Michelangelo holds his ground. Ethan has a weak stomach. He can't help it. He has to run into the kitchen and throws up in the sink. Michelangelo sees one girl alive hanged upside. She is looking at his eyes. Blood is exiting from her neck and falling in a container. Her face is covered with blood. Michelangelo rushes to help her. However, Paul returns to the building. Michelangelo quickly hides at the dining room, so does Ethan. He hides in the kitchen. Paul enters the main apartment and looks around. Michelangelo slowly pulls out his gun. Paul senses the presence of someone in the room, turns around and walks toward the exit. Michelangelo comes out of the hide and tells him to freeze. Paul takes out his gun, fires at him and runs away. Michelangelo has a clean shot to kill him. However, he wants answer. He hesitated to fire. Instead he has to chase him. Paul is fast. He is running like an Olympian in 1984 LA Olympic. Michelangelo continues to pursue the suspect. Paul gets in the middle of the street and continues to run along with cars, so does Michelangelo. He gets in the middle of the lane and continues to chase the suspect, running as if his heart is about to explode inside his body. Michelangelo hasn't run like this since he was in high school playing basketball, even then he stopped once in a while when the ball went out of bound. But there is no stopping here. He is pursuing mental case, who is running like Forrest Gump in Speed, Drug, in the middle of the street while passing cars. There is slow LA traffic in the street. Paul continues to run as if he has no lungs inside his body. Michelangelo chases him. Paul then gets onto the opposite street and continues to run toward the cars like a madman. Michelangelo is not going to let him escape. He is feeling the Holy Spirit but continues to follow the suspect like the devil. In this side of the street traffic are moving pretty strong. Some of the cars have to drive off the lane in order to avoid from hitting them. Then comes a big truck at direction of Paul. The driver hanks his horn. Paul runs at the direction of the truck without a care. The driver quickly turns the wheel and misses Paul by few inches. However, the truck comes straight at Michelangelo. He moves aside, hits the ground, rolls under the truck, comes out of the other side like the Fast and the Furious without a car, gets up and continues to follow Paul. It is one of the most spectacular takes we have ever seen in cinema. It looks realistic as well. Then the inevitable happens right in front of our eyes. A pickup truck Toyota is moving at full speed. The driver sees Paul at the last second. There is nothing he can do about it. The driver steps on the brake in vain. But the car hits Paul violently and kills him at the spot. Michelangelo slows down. Toyota comes at him driving out of control. Michelangelo easily avoids him. But there is a Honda moving at a steady pace. The driver sees Michelangelo moving in front of him. He quickly steps on the brake. Michelangelo instinctively jumps in the air as high as he can. The car stops, but continues to skid down more. Michelangelo lands on the front window crashing on the glass. It looks a little bit like Olympic high jump without the stick and the pad. Michelangelo is in a lot of pain. But he shakes it off, walks toward Paul's dead body and looks at him minding the traffic, which continues to move as if they didn't see anything. Toyota and Honda have already pulled on the side of the road. The drivers come to Michelangelo, tell him better to get out of the road, but Michelangelo ignores them. He then sees a Lexus coming at the direction of the dead body. Michelangelo doesn't want any post-trauma stress. He moves toward the Lexus, tells him to stop bravely. The driver in the Lexus slows down and stops the car inches from Michelangelo. He gets out the car, looks at the mess and eventually places orange emergency flames on the road. Finally, all the traffic cease moving. Later, FBI officials look at the bodies in the building. The only survivor has already taken to hospital. The doctor tells Michelangelo she is in a critical condition. Meanwhile, FBI puts Amelia in charge of the investigation. It's not much of a job. She just has to ask Michelangelo few questions and write a report. It's her first assignment. Amelia asks Michelangelo few questions about what happened. Michelangelo tells her Vincent fired at them, and he chased him down the street. A car then hit him. Basically, Michelangelo tells her what actually happened. Amelia asks him humorously what he was doing inside the house without a search warrant. Michelangelo tells her he is not a cop, and didn't need a search warrant to look into a man, who hanged 23 women upside down and drank their blood like a vampire. If Michelangelo had got there 5 minutes late, the only survival would have died. Emma tells him so he broke the law to save a girl? Amelia is into him. Michelangelo says, let's talk about it over dinner. She asks him what about her boyfriend. Michelangelo tells her he can join them. You don't mean in bed, are you? Amelia questions him humorously. What exactly do you have in your mind? Michelangelo asks her, playing along. She says jokingly, threesome. Michelangelo tells her if that is going to make her happy, she can bring her mother and grandmother too. But that is where he draws line. No great-grandmother or a goat. Amelia smiles in beauty and tells him she was just fucking with him. She doesn't have a boyfriend. She'd love to have dinner with him and talk about the case. Amelia adds Diana, the girl who disappeared, went to the same school that she went to. Michelangelo and Amelia sit at a romantic restaurant in Hollywood and talk about the case. She asks him how he tracked down Paul. They have few drinks and talk about life here and there. One thing leads to another. They kiss and make love at Michelangelo's apartment. After sex, they sit in the bathtub and talk about the case. She agrees to help him without a FBI approval. In the meantime, that night, Ethan tracks down Amanda, who is now a stripper. He watches Amanda dance exotic. She then sits with him. He buys her a drink and apologizes for everything. Amanda tells him she was in love with him, and has thought about him almost every day. They kiss and make love at Ethan's villa. After sex, they sit at the kitchen table nude and have pancake. Amanda tells Ethan she is just dancing at the club to pay her college tuition. Ethan tells her he will take care of her college tuition. She should just focus on her studying. They kiss intimately and make love in the kitchen. Later, Michelangelo introduces Ethan to Amelia, and the three of them discuss about the case. Michelangelo asks Amelia, do you think Diana is dead? Amelia says usually in the case of missing case or abduction. If the victim is not found within the first 3 weeks they are usually murdered. Michelangelo asks her who could have done it. Someone has to talk. He tells Ethan to go home. He does not want his money anymore. I want to do it alone. The image of Diana from the videos keeps flashing in Michelangelo's memories. He is haunted by them. It's personal. Ethan tells him he needs his help if he wants to solve the case. Amelia says he needs her help as well. She puts her FBI badge on the table. Michelangelo needs Amelia. He is in love with her. He might need Ethan's help. He is very good hacker. Yet Michelangelo tells Ethan he will contact him if he needs information. He is going to ask a couple of hardcore sex offender in the City of Angels with Amelia. She is FBI. She will make them talk whether they love it or not. Michelangelo wants Ethan to go door to door and ask her neighbors, friends, and families what they know about the missing angel. He gives Ethan his fake LAPD badge to use the identification if it's absolutely necessary. Ethan leaves the restaurant. Michelangelo and Amelia come to a villa and to question a director named Roger, a registered sex offender who recorded child pornography and post them in deep web and spent times behind bars. It's a big mansion. Roger tells them he never saw her. Michelangelo asks him, you have paid people to bring these kids to your house and recorded them having sex. I have never forced them. They all wanted to do it. Roger interrupted him. It's because you manipulate them. Not only you gave them alcohols and drugs, but you also paid them. Amelia confronts him. Roger admits giving alcohol to some of them, glass of wine, but not too much, and pay them cash as time is money. Michelangelo shows the photo of Diana and tell Roger to look at her carefully and asks him if he saw her. Roger says he has never seen her. Amelia asks him sarcastically, did you give her alcohol? Roger replays, I never met her. We see a 10-year-old girl standing on top of the staircase nude. She looks at Michelangelo and runs away. Michelangelo has seen her, quickly takes out his gun, points it at Roger and asks him what you got upstairs. Amelia did not see her. Roger says, I don't know what you are talking about. Michelangelo tells Amelia, keep your eyes on him. Don't let him move. I will check upstairs. Amelia takes out her gun and points it at Roger. She is confused and asks him what is going on. Michelangelo tells her, I saw a naked girl about 10 upstairs. Amelia dead aims her gun at Roger. Michelangelo tells her just shoot him in the face even if he breathes, and goes upstairs drawing his gun. Michelangelo comes to the bedroom and sees the naked 10-year-old girl and 2 13-year-old boys sitting on the bed without clothes. They are watching pornography. There is a camera recorder. Michelangelo places his index finger across his lips and tell them be quiet. He searches the rooms pointing his gun at all direction. The bedroom looks like a living room. It has a big library, 3 bathrooms, and 3 closets as big as a bedroom. Michelangelo asks them if there is anyone else besides them. They say nothing. But the little girl looks at the direction of the library. Out of nowhere, from the library, comes a naked man about 25 and attacks Michelangelo. The gun falls from Michelangelo's hand. The naked man punches him on the face. The young man is big, cut, and strong like young Arnold Schwarzenegger but leaner. They continue to go at it. Michelangelo punches him on the ribcage and kicks him on the stomach. In the meantime, downstairs, Amelia hears the fight and doesn't know what is going on. Roger tries to take an advantage of the moment, tells her the girl is his daughter, and get up. He is lying. Sit down. Or I will put a bullet hole between your eyes. Amelia warns him. You can't come to my house without a search warrant and tell me what to do. Roger confronts her. I have the right to raise my children how I please. Amelia shoots him on the tip of his ear and tells him sit the fuck down. You have no fucking child. We checked your record before we came here. Roger holds his ear and sits back in the sofa. Michelangelo has heard the shoot downstairs. At the same time, he has to deal with Mr. Naked Man. Michelangelo punches him on the face. The naked man punches Michelangelo on the face back. They are fighting like two alley cats. Michelangelo headbutts him in the nose, tackles him down and punch him on the face. At the living room, Amelia seems a little bit concerned, but she continues to keep her eyes on Roger who is sitting on the sofa while holding his bleeding ear with his shirt. Upstairs, they continue to go at it. Mr. Naked Man hits Michelangelo with a vase. There is a cut on Michelangelo's face. He is bleeding from his head. The fight is getting louder. Amelia wants to go upstairs and helps Michelangelo. She takes out her cuff and throws it at Roger. Amelia tells him to cuff himself against the frame of the staircase. Roger throws the cuff away. Go fuck yourself. You are nothing but a whore. You don't come to my house and give me fucking order, cunt. He gets up and approaches her. Go ahead and shoot me, says Roger. I am not going to go prison. Shoot me, bitch, he screams at her. Amelia is taken by his outburst. She lets down her guard. Roger then runs and attacks her. The gun falls out of her hand. She quickly flips him off and gets on her feet. He gets up as well, jumps on her, falls down with her and begins to hit her in madness. Upstairs, the naked man grabs headlamp and hits Michelangelo across the face. Michelangelo goes down. The naked man grabs a computer wire, puts around Michelangelo's neck and begins to strangle him. Michelangelo can't breathe. He is about to fall unconscious due to the lack of oxygen to his brain. Then one of the 13-year-old boys grabs Michelangelo's gun from the floor and shoots the man in the side of his head. The man falls on Michelangelo and dies at the spot. Michelangelo is covered with the naked man's blood. He pushes him off and gets up. The 13-year-old boy points the gun at Michelangelo. His hand is shaking. The kid's finger is tight on the trigger. He is nervous as hell. Michelangelo tells him to put down the gun. The boy continues to shake in fear. Michelangelo tells him to take it easy, slowly approaches him and takes the gun from the boy's hand. Meanwhile, downstairs, Amelia and Rogers are resting on the floor unscripted. It's dirty. Biting, pulling hair, scratching and punching. Amelia looks at her gun on the floor. Rogers crawls down the floor toward a sofa, pulls out a gun under the cushion and sets to shoot her. Amelia quickly grabs her gun, turns around and shoots Roger between his eyes. He misfires, missing her by inches as he takes his last breath. Michelangelo, who has heard the shot, runs downstairs. He sees Roger lying dead and asks Amelia if she is okay. I'm fine, says Amelia. She knows she came that close to die. They kiss intimately. Later, FBI searches the house and find hundreds of videotapes of child pornography in the basement dating back since 1995. But they didn't find Diana. Michelangelo and Amelia sit at a bar. He believes Diana is alive. He tells Amelia he must find her. Michelangelo is tormented by the video of Diana that he watched. It continues to hunt him. At the same time, he is not sure if she is alive or dead. Michelangelo sees a young beautiful girl flirting with a 35-year-old man. She is wearing an extremely suggestive outfit and all over the dude. He is touching her buttock inside her miniskirt sexually. She is not wearing underwear. Michelangelo is boiling inside with worry. He wants to teach the man few lessons. The girl turns slightly, looks at him and gives him soft seductive smile. Michelangelo sees Diana in her place. He grabs a bottle of whiskey, excuses Amelia, and walks up to them. Michelangelo asks the girl to go home. She is too young to hang around with this punk. The man jokingly says she just turned 12. He picked her up cutting class at a Catholic elementary school. He is going to take her virginity in the bathroom. He will send him her blood mixed with martini in a minute. It's Bloody Virgin Mary. It's on him. Michelangelo says, is that right, crashes the bottle on the side of the guy's head, brings him down on the ground and begins to punch him on the face. A couple of guys come to stop him. Michelangelo points his gun at them and threatens to shoot them if they get near. Amelia doesn't know what to do. She takes out her badge and a gun, tells the guys she is FBI and asks them to stand back. Michelangelo continues to hit the dude, talking in madness till he falls unconscious. Amelia tells Michelangelo that's enough. He is dead. Let's get out of here. They drive to her house. Michelangelo and Amelia come to living room kissing passionately, removes each other clothes and have a steamy sex on the floor. They then take it in the bedroom. It's sensual, seductive, and erotic. Later, the man files complaint against Michelangelo. But the DA drops the case. Even though the girl is 18, she used a fake ID to get into the club, age limit is 21. Michelangelo and Amelia continue to investigate the case. Ethan provides them with information, a priest named Oscar, a registered sex offender, but his name has been taken off from the computer without an explanation. Diana and Amanda used to come to the church and confess their sins as a joke. Michelangelo and Amelia come to question him. Oscar tells them the closer you come to God, the more the devil tempts you. The mind is nothing but the dwelling place of the Prince of Darkness, and the flesh can't act without the mind. Evil is not the lack of good in your soul but choosing to be bad. However, choice is illusion. We all are destined to do God's promises. And good is not the absence of evil, but a state of mind and dealing with the darkness in our minds with patience and righteousness and serve God with all our hearts, abilities, and souls. Michelangelo shows Oscar the photo of Diana and asks him if he had seen her. Oscar tells him he doesn't know who she is. Michelangelo looks around the church and has a weird feeling. In dreamlike vision, Michelangelo sees Diana, who ran away when she was 12, sleeping on the bench. The vision evaporates away. When Michelangelo and Amelia are about to leave, Oscar whispers by Amelia's ear, "I have a confession to make." She looks at him and asks him, "What did you just say?" Oscar says, "Nothing. Sometimes, I talk to God in my head and ask forgiveness for the faults, misdeeds, offenses, wrongdoings and demerit of mankind. It's the end of the world. You should repent your sins." Michelangelo and Amelia leave the church. They come to their car. Yet Amelia tells Michelangelo that Oscar told her he had a confession to make. Michelangelo says maybe he was talking to God. He is delusional. Amelia doesn't buy it, and thinks Oscar was trying to tell her something. Why did he whisper down by her neck? Michelangelo and Amelia wait for him in the car. Oscar leaves the house of God, gets in the car, and drives in the streets of Los Angeles. Michelangelo and Amelia follow him. Oscar comes to a warehouse deep in the canyon. Oscar is holding 10 young women in prison cells for breaking the 10 commandments. They all are nude. Some of them are dead due to starvation. Some of them are alive. There is no meat in their bodies. We can count the bones in their anatomies. Oscar removes his clothes nude and tells them they committed sins against God, and must pay now than later. He stands in front of a girl named Lydia, about 22. She is barely alive. Oscar begins to masturbate while praying, "Thou shalt not commit adultery." Selling her flesh and spirit to the devil is a sin. Oscar asks God to forgive her for sins that she committed, allows her to enter heaven, and to be with God in his glory, and attain eternal life as he continues to masturbate. He reaches climax, falls down with his knees and cries like a saint as he continues to pray in oblivion. Michelangelo and Amelia kick open the door and enter the warehouse, drawing their guns. Amelia tells Oscar to freeze. Michelangelo looks around, and can't believe what he is seeing, naked starving women. Oscar tells them, "I want to confess my sins. There is the presence of the devil inside my soul. I begged God to quiet him. But he refused to listen to me." Oscar gets up. Amelia tells him, "Don't fucking move. Stay on the floor. Down on your knee." Oscar tells her, "Satan is hurting my brain. I don't want him in my head." He begins to approach her. Michelangelo shoots him on the knee without looking. He is watching the starving girls in confusion. Oscar falls down on the ground and screams in pain. Amelia cuffs him. Michelangelo fires at gate 1, breaks the door, and checks the skeleton girl 1 if she is still alive. She is dead. So does Amelia. She calls 911 and tells them to send helicopters as soon as possible. Amelia fires at gate 2, breaks the door and checks another skeleton girl. She is gone. Michelangelo fires and breaks gate 3, and checks a skeleton girl. She is alive. He quickly rushes to get her water. In the meantime, Amelia breaks gate 4 and checks girl number 4. She is alive as well. Amelia goes to get her water. Michelangelo gives water to victim number 3 just a little bit to keep her alive and rushes to 5. So does Amelia. She gives her water and goes to 6. 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10 are dead. 9 is barely alive. She is the one Oscar was looking at while masturbating. Michelangelo checks her. Lydia just takes her last breath on his hand as he checks the vital signs on her neck. Michelangelo quickly gives her CPR, but he cannot perform chest compression. He might broke her rib bones. He continues to give her CPR. Luckily, Lydia returns to life. Michelangelo places water in her system just a little bit, picks her up and carries her out of the cell. He tells Amelia they have to take her to hospital. Amelia tells him helicopters are in their ways. Michelangelo says he is taking her to UCLA Medical Hospital. He can get there in 10 minutes faster than the helicopter. She asks him they can't leave the other two survivals alone. Michelangelo tells her they are coming with us. Amelia asks him what about Oscar? What should they do with him? Michelangelo tells her just leave him alone here. He's fucked up in the head. The cops will pick him up. Michelangelo and Amelia place the three survivals in the car one by one. Michelangelo gets behind the wheel and Amelia gets in the passenger seat. They drive down the Topanga Canyon, make a turn at Pacific High Coast Highway, take Sunset Boulevard, drive like Bonnie and Clyde in speed and come to UCLA in 10 minutes. Michelangelo carries Lydia whom he brought back to life and rushes her to the emergency room. Meanwhile, the paramedics take the two survivals to ER. They all make it. However, Lydia is in critical condition. She has fallen in a coma. Oscar is arrested by FBI. LAPD homicide detectives and forensics collect evidence. Michelangelo and Amelia return to the crime scene. Amelia, who hasn't showed up at the bureau for a while and been doing the investigation without the FBI knowledge, is forced to have few words with Special Agent Robert. She can't avoid him. Robert asks her where she has been. Amelia tells him the truth. She has been looking for a missing girl, Diana. She apologizes for her absence. Robert tells Amelia he is not mad at her. He wants her to finish what she has started and reports to him directly. In the meantime, Ethan calls Michelangelo and tells him he might have information leading to Diana's whereabouts. Michelangelo and Amelia meet Ethan at a restaurant. He's with Amanda. Ethan tells Amanda to tell them what she exactly told him. Amanda shows them a drawing of a spider. 10 years ago, a week before Diana's disappearance, while walking home after school, a young man asked Diana and Amanda to get in an expensive car, Aston Martin. He said he would give them a ride home. They got in the car. He then gave Diana $500, and dared her to give him a blowjob. She went down on him. The man has a spider ring on his right middle finger. Amanda never told to the police. She thought it would ruin Diana's image. They took headshots and bought a bag of weed with the money. Diana also made Amanda promise never to tell to anyone. In flashback, a professor named Richard gives lecture to a group of students at UCLA. It's psychology class. He looks like Michael Fassbender. Richard asks his students what separate man from God. A male student answers God is capable of creating. And man is simply God's creation. Richard says that is an excellent answer and asks the students another question: how many of you think God is underachiever? The students choose not to comment on the subject. Richard tells them there are over billion stars in the skies. But as soon as you take your head out of Earth's atmosphere and take a pic, mankind are condemned to breathe, which technically makes God underachiever. But I am not interested in God. It's a moral value what fascinates me. That is why we all are here in this class. Supposed you could get away with a crime. What kind of crime would you commit? I will kill you, a knucklehead says without being noticed. The student laughs comically. Richard smiles sarcastically and says, taking a person's life is not easy, especially if you don't know what you are doing. Most of you wouldn't go out and kill innocent people. Your conscience wouldn't allow you. However, what if moral is illusion? Would you kidnap a person and study her, or his behavior, write a paper on consciousness, and figure out God? Nobody says a word. Amanda is in the classroom. Richard looks at her and gives her a wink. She looks at his hand. He has the same spider ring on his right middle finger. We return back to the restaurant. Michelangelo and Amelia leave the restaurant in a hurry. Michelangelo gets behind the wheel. Amelia gets in the passenger seat, calls FBI and asks for Richard's address. They told her he lives in Venice 5555. They drive in the street of Los Angeles as fast as they can and come to Richard's house. They take out their guns and knock the doors. Michelangelo can't wait. He just fires at the door, kicks it open, and they enter drawing their gun. They move throughout the house, come to the main study room and finds about 25 naked young attractive women in glass rooms. They are the subject of human sexuality study. Out of nowhere comes Richard and fires at Amelia. Michelangelo dives in the air, takes the bullet in the chest and hits the floor with Amelia saving her life. Amelia fires at Richard. But he runs away and disappears at the adjacent room. Amelia checks if Michelangelo is alive. He lies unconscious. But he is breathing. Amelia goes after Richard, looking for him throughout the house. Richard gets in his motorboat and escapes sailing down the Pacific Ocean. Seductive Pain, Part 25, Leo. Amelia quickly returns to Michelangelo, opens his shirt and looks at his wound. There is a bullet inside his skin. She slaps Michelangelo on the face just a little bit and tells him to wake up. He opens his eyes, pulls her closer and kisses her lips. They kiss more intimately. Michelangelo then fetches out a hip flask from his chest pocket that Amelia gives him as a present. It has a bullet hole and might have saved his life. The bullets pierced through the flask and enters his skin. Amelia digs out the bullet from his chest with her fingers. He doesn't really need to go to hospital. A simple first aid will take care of it. FBI and LAPD arrive at the house and collect evidence. They take the girls to a hospital. They search the house and find various study videotapes. At FBI headquarters, 2 FBI analysts, Louis and Matthew, look at the videos to see if Diana might be alive. Meanwhile, Michelangelo and Amelia wait for the result at the waiting room. Michelangelo and Amelia then come to the conference room and make love in the middle of the night as they continue to wait for the result. Louis and Matthew continue to look at the video. Some of them are quite disturbing videos of sadomasochistic sex. However, they can't find Diana. FBI are using advanced computer image of Diana what she might look like after 10 years. Louis has fallen asleep on the sofa. Matthew is half asleep despite the fact he has drunk 3 energy drinks, Red Bulls. He falls asleep with open eyes. He then gets up to sleep on the sofa. It is more comfortable. In his sleep, he decides to check one last video. Matthew plays it. There is a nude girl with wings. She looks like an angel of God. She's kept in a luxurious villa. We go through the computer screen, come to the house and look at it in flashback. There are surveillance camera throughout the room recording her. It's Diana. She gets up in the morning without a single drop of cloth. She takes shower. There is a blow dryer. She presses it and dries her wings. She comes to the kitchen and have cereal. There is no books or anything, except pornography videos. She turns it on television. There is porn. She turns it off, goes to the kitchen and looks at the accessories. They are plastics. Yet there is a porcelain coffee cup. She breaks it into pieces. She picks up a sharp piece, returns to living room, sits on the sofa, and cuts her chest deep. Blood exits from her skin, rolls down by her breasts, moves down by her belly and soaks her vagina. Diana begins to touch herself in masturbation looking at the surveillance camera. We see Richard sitting naked at control room nude smoking cigarette and taking notes. Diana continues to touch herself. A cat comes out of nowhere and rubs itself against her leg. Diana picks the cat up and places it between her legs. The cat licks the blood from her vagina. Richard then presses a button. A big white muscular man wearing a mask and S&M leather walks in. He hits Diana and begins to rape her. Richard masturbates in voyeurism looking at the video. The man who is raping her has a tattoo of a dragon crucified on a cross like Jesus Christ on his back and Spence's logo of the Batman on his arm. We are back to FBI headquarters. Michelangelo, Special Agent James, Amelia, Agent Sophia, and 3 more agents are watching the video at the conference room. We don't see Richard in the video, only the masked man. They pause on the man. Later, FBI runs the tattoo and finds no record. However, Ethan hacks into the Russian embassy database, and finds the Spence's. His name is Vladimir. He is from Russia. He owns a nightclub in North Hollywood. Special Agent Robert, Capital Carter LAPD, Agent Sophia, Amelia, Michelangelo, and FBI SWAT come to Vladimir's nightclub, raid the place and arrest Vladimir. FBI brings Vladimir to the interrogation room. Amelia asks him where Diana is. Vladimir says Richard pays him to rape Diana but he doesn't know where the house is. A black van picks him up and takes him to the house to have sex with a girl with angel wings. Sometimes, he hits her. The man pays him more if he sodomized her, or use various sadistic methods. Amelia asks him why didn't you tell the police her whereabouts. Vladimir tells her the man paid him good. Besides, he enjoyed it as well. Vladimir said that in order to get into Amelia's head. Vladimir then admits it was too late. Richard had recorded him, could be accused of kidnapping as an accomplice and began to work for him. There is more. Vladimir brings other Russians criminals to rape Diana. However, Richard put poison in their drink or gassed them after they have sex with her to prevent them from talking. Vladimir has gotten rid of several bodies. He didn't care. Most of them were criminal. He used various methods to dispose the bodies including burning them in factories and cutting the bodies into pieces and dumping them in the ocean. He confesses the disposal of at least 40 bodies. Vladimir was deep into the vice. Amelia exposes the cleavage of her breasts in order to make him trust her and asks him in Russia where the house is located. She will let him fuck her in the ass. Vladimir tells her it's in Long Beach. The address is 1235. We returns to Diana. She is in the bathroom. There is no surveillance camera at the toilet room. Diana has been carving toilet wall little by little each day to escape like Andy Dufresne in Shawshank Redemption. Diana removes the toilet, goes through the wall and comes to the basement, which leads to the ocean. Diana swims under the house, moves to the open ocean. She then swims toward the shore, gets out of the water and runs down the beach naked with wet wings while screaming help. Out of nowhere comes Richard, shoots her with a poison dart, puts her in his car and drives away. Meanwhile, Michelangelo, Amelia, FBI and SWAT come to the house, break the door, enter and search the place. There is nobody in the house. They are gone. FBI forensics collect evidences. Later, Michelangelo and Amelia come to Richard's father's house to question Jeremiah. Michelangelo tells her to wait in the car. He is just going to have few words with him. They will drive to his stepmother's house and asks Melissa few questions. She might tell them more about Richard than his father. Richard hasn't spoken to his father for a while. Melissa raised Richard. Michelangelo knocks the door. Jeremiah opens the door. Michelangelo tells him he wants to ask him few questions regarding to his son. Jeremiah invites him in. Michelangelo asks him what he can tell him about Richard. Jeremiah says Richard's mother was nymphomaniac. He caught her give Richard a blowjob when he was just 6. Later, she committed suicide in the bathtub nude. He found Richard with his mother in the bathtub sleeping without a cloth. They both were naked. Richard was cold. He has never recovered from her death. Later, Jeremiah married Melissa. They then got divorced. He gives her full custody of Richard. He hasn't seen him almost for 20 years. Michelangelo asks permission to look around the house. Jeremiah tells him make himself home. Michelangelo comes to the piano room and looks at few expensive paintings. He then sees the same cat from the video. It rubs itself against his leg. The old man is Richard. Michelangelo quickly draws his gun. The old man fires at Michelangelo in blink of an eye. Michelangelo quickly ducks and hits the floor. The bullet misses him by few inches. Amelia has heard the shot. She quickly gets out of the car and runs to the house. She enters the house drawing her gun. Michelangelo and Amelia search for Richard. It's a big farmhouse. They slowly exit through the side door, come to the main ranch and look for Richard. There are about 32 horses in the ranch. Out of nowhere appears Richard, and shoots Amelia in the chest. She falls down on the parched grasses. Amelia is alive. She is wearing a bulletproof vest. Michelangelo fires at Richard in vain. He disappears like a ghost. Michelangelo makes sure Amelia is okay. He drags her down the parched grasses and hides her by the door. She tells him she is fine. In the meantime, Richard presses a button and lets the horses out. It's to cause distraction. Richard fires at the roof to scare the horses. They come at Michelangelo and Amelia in confusion. It's a total chaos. Michelangelo holds Amelia and covers her with his body. Some of the horse step on him. Michelangelo makes sure Amelia is safe. He is bleeding from his head. Michelangelo then rolls with Amelia, and they hide by the wall. The horse continue to exit. Unbeknownst to Michelangelo, Amelia is hit by a horse in the head. She is unconscious. Michelangelo puts her on safe ground, covers her with parched grass, gets up and goes after Richard. He looks for him. Richard fires and hits Michelangelo in the arm, resulting him to drop his gun. Michelangelo quickly hides down by a stack of parched grasses. Richard has advantage. He comes after Michelangelo to finish him. Michelangelo moves down and hides at another stack of parched grasses. Richard continues to search for him. He is following Michelangelo's blood and getting closer and closer. Out of nowhere comes Michelangelo and jumps on Richard. The gun falls out of Richard's hand. Michelangelo gets on top of Richard and punches him on the face. Richard takes out a knife and stabs Michelangelo in the side of his abdomen. Michelangelo holds Richard's hand and tries to take the knife. Richard flips him over. They stand on their feet. Michelangelo has nothing on his hand. Richard is holding the knife. Richard then grabs a latent and crashes it against on the ground, setting the place on fire, and attacks Michelangelo in rage. Michelangelo tries to block the knife with his arm. The knife pierces his skin. Michelangelo falls down. Richard holds the knife deep in Michelangelo's arm. Blood pours out of his arm. Michelangelo pushes Richard's hand. The knife slowly exits from his skin. Richard then stabs him on the shoulder. Michelangelo punches Richard on the face and pushes him away. The place is on fire. It quickly spreads like a bad rumor. Richard comes at Michelangelo with everything he has like a pure psychopath and tries to stab him in the eyes. Michelangelo holds his arm, turns the knife and daggers it in Richard's throat. Richard is still alive. Michelangelo asks him where Diana is. Richard smiles sarcastically, spits a chunk of blood and dies at the spot. The place continues to be consumed with fire. Michelangelo comes to Amelia. He quickly grabs her, carries out of the ranch. Amelia regains consciousness. She asks him where they are. He tells her humorously. They're in the set of Joe vs. the Volcano. She smiles in beauty. They cuddle and kiss intimately. Michelangelo then hears Diana screaming for help from a distance, across the ranch. Michelangelo runs toward the sound. Diana is kept in an empty warehouse. Michelangelo breaks the door and finds Diana lying on the floor nude. Meanwhile, FBI and cops and firefighters arrive at the scene. Michelangelo carries Diana out of the warehouse and takes her to the ambulance as the firefighters take out the fire. The paramedics put Diana on a medical stretcher, place her in ambulance and rush her to the hospital. Michelangelo has lost a lot of blood. But he is filled with adrenaline and does not feel pain. He refuses any kind of medical attention and just walks away from the paramedics. Amelia approaches him. He then faints on her arms. She sits on the ground and holds him. Amelia thinks he is going to die on her arms. Michelangelo tells her he is all right, just kiss me before I die. Amelia's eyes fill with tears. She gives Michelangelo a soft kiss on the lips. Simultaneously, Amelia's tears leaves her eyes, rolls down by her cheeks, falls on Michelangelo's face. Amelia wipes her tears from his face and kisses him more. They kiss French. The end. What do you think, Emma? Her eyes are filled with tears. Emma, I am speechless. It's one of the best stories I have heard for a while. The tears leaves her eyes in a heartbeat. She quickly wipes it with her hand. Leo, to Chris, have you written a complete screenplay for Lost Angel? Chris, I just wrote that in one sitting, and didn't even look at it again. Leo, that is cool. I have always liked taking chances. You know, I want to go back and make few changes. Let's add a daughter. Suppose Michelangelo has a daughter named Annie with his first marriage. He was married to a girl named Lauren. They got divorced. Michelangelo has a love-hate relationship with his daughter. She is 15. She is about to turn 16, and has been living with her mother. Michelangelo visits her once in a while. She is at the age entering puberty, PMS, and womanhood. Annie is curious about sex and wants to talk about it with her father before she gives her virginity to her boyfriend. But at the same time, he doesn't want to interfere with her life. He walked out of her life 8 years ago when she was only 5. Michelangelo thinks she is better off without him. She should stay with her mother Lauren and her stepfather Jack, who loves her as if she were his own daughter. Michelangelo is a womanizer and hates a lot of responsibility, especially parental obligation. Annie loves her biological father and wants to get to know him before too late. She also grew up to be one of the most beautiful mademoiselles in the City of Angels. Michelangelo is happy to bring a beautiful girl to the world. They develop a quick friendship, but Michelangelo still has to find Diana, the missing girl. In the sense, Michelangelo sees Diana as his daughter. He focuses on finding her at all cost while neglecting his own daughter. He misses Annie's drama act, which she plays Juliet. Michelangelo promised her he would show up on time, but ended up missing due to one of the murder investigations. He sends her a teddy bear and apologizes to her. Michelangelo is also falling in love with Amelia. He forgets to show up for Annie's sweet 16th birthday despite the fact her mother and stepfather throw her a big birthday party. She sneaks out the house and comes to a restaurant to meet her father. Michelangelo promised her he would be there, but he forgot about it. He was making love to Amelia. Annie waits for her father till they close the restaurant. Later, Michelangelo asks her to forgive him. Annie tells him don't sweat it, as if nothing happens. She says it's only a fucking birthday. Let's not make a big deal out of it. Instead she gives him a present for his birthday, the same hip flask, which will end up saving his life. Michelangelo thinks she is the coolest daughter in the world, and begins to care about her. Let me keep it short. I will leave it to you, Chris, to develop a beautiful heartbreaking relationship between father and daughter, and come to the main point. We keep almost the entire story as it is. Professor Richard is the Prince of Darkness. In the original story that you wrote, Michelangelo stabs him in the throat, kills him and rescues Diana. That is beautiful. Now we are going to change few things. Suppose Richard escapes again. Michelangelo and Amelia rescue Diana and take her to the hospital. They then go to separate ways looking for Richard. Later, Michelangelo learns that Amelia has been kidnapped by Richard. Amelia got a lead and came to the house. Richard knocked her unconscious. He calls Michelangelo, tells him where Amelia is and wants him to come alone and take her. If Michelangelo brings a cop, he would kill Amelia. Michelangelo comes to the house alone and finds Amelia sitting in the kitchen table. She is drugged. When Michelangelo comes to rescue her, Richard comes out of nowhere and injects him with a syringe that has poison. He falls unconscious. When he wakes up, Michelangelo finds himself in a prison cell inside a castle. Richard then starves Michelangelo for 4 weeks, only giving him water. Michelangelo lost 60 pounds in blink of an eye. He looks like skeleton. We might have to edit those skeleton girls that Michelangelo saved earlier to give the scene emotional height. You know, those girls whom Oscar starved them in the warehouse. Instead, Oscar forces them into sex. He impregnate them and keep the girls in the cells for 9 months. You know, not only does Oscar make sure they all give birth at the same time, placing drugs in their drinks that speed up the process, but he also makes sure they give birth without assistance in order to punish them. Oscar usually takes the babies and makes scarification to Jesus Christ in some kind of religion ritual. For some reason, I has Oscar Isaac in mind for role the whole time. Nevertheless, Michelangelo and Amelia arrive at the warehouse and find some of the girls screaming in labor. Oscar has already taken 4 babies and lined them on sacrifice chamber. Amelia shoots Oscar fatally when he is about to kill a baby. Michelangelo and Amelia quickly assist the rest of the girls to give births naturally. Maybe that feels bit like the Untouchables at the Union Station, Kevin Costner and Andy Garcia shooting the bad guys, and saving a baby in a stroller. It's a bad idea. We will figure it out the angle. I want Oscar Isaac in the film. And speaking of Oscar, I think I might win Academic Award for The Revenant. It's just a feeling. Not because of my performance, it's not bad, but they want to keep things in perspective. You know, it's like how they gave Humphrey Bogart Academy Award in 1951 for African Queen. Nobody knows what the movie is about. You know, Marlon Brando could have easily won it portraying Stanley Kowalski in A Streetcar Named Desire. Nonetheless, I'll just dedicate the award to the Native Americans and keep the speech short. Maybe talk about the environment change a little bit like I give a fuck, and thanks few people. The point I am trying to make is I might go to the extreme. You know, I am willing to go all out. Anyhow, let me go back to Michelangelo. After 4 weeks of starvation, surviving only with water, kept naked and weighing 112 pounds, Michelangelo is finally invited by Richard to have dinner with him. It's a big feast. Amelia is present. She looks fresh. But she remained drugged. Richard has prepared all sorts of foods. Michelangelo eats the food without a thought. He doesn't know what the food is made of, but he continues to eat like a saint who fasted for 10 years to save his soul, finally found out he has no soul and gorges on a meal like there is no tomorrow. Richard then gives him a meal that is covered with gold plate. Michelangelo opens it and finds the head of his daughter. The food is made of from his daughter body part. Michelangelo throws up everything he ate and screams in pain. Emma, that is powerful. Leo, I am an actor. I thrive in performance. If I did something that is going to stay in people's mind and win awards, it means a lot to me. I don't want them to give me award out of pity. Luckily, I have never done a single movie thinking I was going to win Academy Award. I usually do it, because that's what I love to do. Maybe that's a little bit lie. But you have to use awards as a motivation. Even it adds a little bit to your acting. You have to lie to yourself, I want to win Oscar, so let's lose 40 to 60 pounds and give the best performance ever. In the end, you get emotional high out of your performance, not from the award. Yet awards are just excuse to push yourself and run extra miles. Emma, you still don't have an ending. You're not going to let Richard get away with it, are you? Leo, I will leave the ending to Chris. He is the artist. What do you have in mind? Chris, I don't know. I was just thinking about the relationship between private investigator and an FBI agent just going out looking for a missing girl and involving in all kinds of adventure, murder, crime, action, romance, and a couple of steamy sex scenes. You put a daughter into the spin and make the film real. Leonardo, I have an idea. Why not let Richard get away with his crime like Dr. Hannibal Lecter in The Silence of the Lambs? AFI put Dr. Lecter the #1 villain of all time. Let's end the movie as I scream top of my lungs looking at the heavens while tears flooding out of my eyes in a great emotional pain. Nobody knows the fate of Richard or what happens next. People just go home and think about it forever. Emma, I don't like bad guys walking away with crime. It would depress me. Leo, I want people to watch the film in terms of performances, not a moral lesson. It's a story of mystery. You leave them wanting more. Is it going to be part 2? People would go home and create a story in their head. Like you said earlier criticizing The Revenant, maybe Michelangelo goes to hospital, collects his strength, reunites with Amelia, and they hunt for Richard. It's not only murder mystery, but it's also going to be a story of revenge. However, since you are not into revenge, you might want to surround the story with murder mystery. Amelia comes to Michelangelo with another missing person case or a serial killer and asks him to help her. They team up, help me solve my case. I will help you catch Richard and get your revenge. But that's in the audience's mind. Perhaps someday, they will find an actor, who looks like me, and make part 2. I just want to focus on Lost Angel. To Chris, can you add a daughter and write the screenplay in 5 weeks? I can bring additional screenwriters and help us with dialogue and few details to speed it up if it's absolutely necessary. But I like how you think. I notice you don't take side, and have no conviction whatsoever. I am willing to lose up to 60 pounds. But I doubt I can think straight after I lost 20 pounds. My heart may shrink. I can live with that. But my mind stops thinking right. I had seen it before. I lost 10 pounds. My brain stops functioning properly. I might have to count on you. Before anything, I want the right for the story. Fuck agents and managers. Whatever the price it's, just name it. I will write you a check now. Emma, $10 million. Leo, that's a deal. Chris, she is just kidding. I don't want a penny. It is your story. You just created it. You know, if you are willing to lose up to 60 pounds and commit in something you believe will change cinema, I would be glad to give you the right for free. You can do whatever you want to do with it. I have a lot of stories. Leo, I respect that. I am going to buy most of them and turn around my production company. I am just paying you now for your time. I have going to have crew that work on it night and day 24/7 without sleeping. I want you to come here and lead the project while I am focusing on bringing the character to life. I want to commit 100%. We are not going to live forever. We might as well make our marks while we are still alive. In fact, I want you start today. Mi casa so casa. To Emma, I need you to do me a favor. You might have to cancel everything, hang around here for a couple of days and help him developing the story. He seems to like you. I will pay your expense and whatever lawsuit they might file against you for bridging contract. Emma, sure. But I have an interesting idea. Why not make Ethan the main villain? You know, he has been faking it all along, pretending to be their friend and helping solve the case. However, he was just toying with them. Ethan is the same young man, whom Nicole went down on in the Aston Martin. He puts fake mustache, beard, various facial hairs and masks, murders people and set up sex predators to take the fall after he drugs them. You know, Ethan is committing the crimes right under their noses. Michelangelo and Amelia find out Ethan had been traveling back and forth from London to USA. He took advantage of his criminology degree to look for Diana. He actually found the kidnapper, Richard, and killed him. Instead of rescuing Diana, Ethan kept her for himself and used her for his sexual deviation. He is also a professor at UCLA teaching psychology while wearing sunglasses and fake mustache to conceal his true identity. That's why they can't track him down. He hacks into any computer system and changes his profile. I like the idea, a cat licking Diana's clitoris. It is erotic. But you might want to add a different twist. You know, when Michelangelo comes to question Ethan the first time at his office, Ethan's cat rubs itself against Michelangelo. Ethan is fond of the cat. In the end, the same cat rubs itself against Michelangelo's leg and gives Ethan away. Then you can follow it with what Leo just said, despite the fact I prefer a happy ending. Leo, that is brilliant. Let's go with that angle. Ethan is the villain. To Chris, can you pull it? Chris, sure. Emma, I like the image of Michelangelo carrying the angel out of the house and handing her to the cops. It makes a nice trailer, but at the very end, I want to see all four of them sitting at the dinner table nude. Michelangelo, Ethan, and Diana. To Chris, it's up to you. They continue to talk. On the soundtrack, music plays. We pull out of the house dexterously. Montage. Emma and Leonardo star in Lost Angel. It's directed by Alejandro González Iñárritu. He is giving them direction. Chris works on the screenplay at the set. We continue to hear the music on the soundtrack. There is a beautiful commotion on the set. Advertisement, we see the poster of Lost Angel starring Emma and Leonardo, produced by George Clooney and written by Chris. Int. Theater, day. We are watching the final scene. Leonardo, who plays Michelangelo, weighing about 110 pounds maybe less, come to the dining room naked and sits at the table and begins to eat. Ethan, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, is the host. He is sitting on the main chair without a cloth. Emma, who played Amelia, is sitting at the dinner table nude, in front of Michelangelo. She has lost a lot of weight as well. But it's not as bad as Leonardo. Diana, played by Nicola Peltz, is present. She has wings on her back. She looks like an angel of God in the Garden of Eden. She is sitting next to Amelia. Yet she is drugged and remains quiet. Ethan then places a sliver plate in front of Michelangelo and tells him to enjoy the meal. Michelangelo opens it and finds his daughter's head. He gets up in panic, walks backward and looks at the table. He has been blinded by hunger, didn't even realize that he had been eating human being. We see her breasts, belly, private part, and feet, etc. Ethan is eating her heart. Michelangelo throws up what he just ate. He then returns to the table shaking as if he just come from Antarctica and looks at Ethan, who continues to eat his daughter heart with a knife and a fork. Michelangelo is lost in memories of his daughter. In flashback, montage, we see Michelangelo's daughter Annie, played by Lily Rose Depp, sitting at a restaurant and conversing, teaching her how to drive, taking a walk in the beach. Annie takes her father's photo and show it to him. She then asks a stranger to take the picture of them together. Annie kisses her father on the cheek as the camera flashlights, etc. We are back to the house. Michelangelo has no strength. He looks like a skeleton that just came out of a graveyard. Out of nowhere a force enters into Michelangelo's body. In a blink of an eye, he picks up a kitchen knife from the table, dives in the air and tackles Ethan. They fall on the ground. Michelangelo stabs Ethan in the neck with the knife multiple times. His face is covered with Ethan's blood. He continues to stab him in the neck like a madman. Blood pours out of Ethan's neck like a bad oil foundation. Michelangelo then comes to Amelia and gives her water. She drinks a little bit. It burns her stomach like hell. They hug and kiss softly. They have no strength. They slowly go down on the floor. She lies on his chest. Michelangelo continues to cry. Amelia kisses his face multiple times. She thinks she can take away his pain. He is in a lot of pain. Amelia cries with him. They cuddle and kiss intimately. We take it overhead shot and pulls out. The end. Int. Tether, day. We take the movie in big screen as the credit rolls. They stop the movie and turns on the light. Emma and Chris sit at front row. She has gained back most of the weight she lost for the movie. Leo is present. He is sitting at front row as well. He has gained some of the weight back too. The audiences are silent for long seconds. They don't know what they hit them. They then get up and give Leo and Emma a standing ovation. Emma kisses Chris. Nicola Peltz is present. She is checking out Chris. He catches her eyes. She gives him a soft, beautiful smile. Emma notices it. Chris and Emma kiss more intimately. Int. Beach, day. Chris and Emma take a walk in the beach, down the shoreline, holding arms. Emma, are you leaving me? Chris, why did you say that? Emma, it's just a feeling. Chris, what feeling would that be? Emma, the butterfly in my belly. Chris, no, I am not leaving you. Chris and Emma exchange soft kisses as they continue to walk down the beach. There is a silent moment. They walk more, then stop and stand lips to lips. Emma, Chris. Chris, what's it, dreamboat? They exchange soft kisses. Emma, let's fight for real. Chris, what do you mean? Emma, I want you to slap me. Chris, why? Emma, I don't know. It's a movie. Chris, they will make fun of us on Saturday Night Live. Emma, never mind. Just kiss me till my lips bleed. They kiss French. There is a mattress on the shoreline. It's placed for the sole purpose of the scene with a pillow. Chris picks her up, carries her on his shoulder and places her on the cushion. Emma lies on her back while resting her head on the pillow. Chris leans next to her and gives her a soft kiss. She puts her arms around him. They kiss more intimately. A big wave crashes on them and wets their clothes. They continue to kiss as if their lips and tongues are made of true love. They then part their lips. Emma takes a deep breath. Emma, softly, see. Chris, what's it? Emma, the butterfly in my belly. Do you love me? He gives her a soft kiss. Chris, my heart says, you love her? Tell her she is the most beautiful girl ever. However, assure her of your love. Always bring it to her attention. How you love her more than anything else. Kiss her eyes. He kisses her eyebrow. Kiss her cheeks. He kisses her cheek. Kiss her nose. He kisses her nose. Kiss her soul. He kisses her collarbone. But kiss her lips more. Chris gives Emma a soft intimate kiss on the lips. And remind her you desire her. You crave and long for her. More than anything else. She means everything to you. Please her, live and die for her. The truth, nothing but the truth. So help you God. Maybe, all women shall be loved, kissed, desired, longed for, and perceived as goddesses. But you are the joy, the way, the light. I will always love you endlessly. Forever, day and night. And in love, no fault can be found. What goes round, may comes around. But if there is a teardrop of doubt, snatch my heart out of my chest, and smash it on the ground. He gives her soft kiss. Sometimes, it feels like I am left down to my last luck. But it's not faith that I lack. I am here neither to witness divine intervention, nor to hear an answer for a question that I didn't ask, but to fall head over heels in love with thee till my soul doth hit the bottom of my belly and to crack. You're given me passion and romance more than I have whispered, screamed, breathed, and prayed higher. And if I only say I adore you and kiss you French, it only makes me the greatest liar. Because you're my heart and soul. And love beyond my deepest wholesome desire. She smiles in beauty. Chris gives her a soft kiss. Emma, down by his lips, I think I'm head over heels in love with you. She puts her arms around him and kisses him. They kiss French. More waves crash on their bodies. We take it with overhead shot. The end.